Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Betfred Boxing Show with me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, let's remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, I am joined by the usual twosome this week of Mr. Andy Clarke and the former WBO Super Featherweight Champion of the world, Mr. Barry Jones, as we review this past weekend's action and look forward to this weekend's boxing. But now that's out of the way, guys, how are we doing? How are we keeping?
Better than you. You couldn't do that with your eyes open, then, could you? Your eyes kept falling asleep. You fell asleep twice.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I mean, getting through to the end of that was it. You're gonna have to go and burst today, aren't you? So you're relying on us more than ever, because what we could do here, Barry, is we could just not talk as much as normal and just watch him slowly gas. Because that's definitely what's going to happen.
Have you seen Barry before?
I've tried to do that once, it didn't work.
No, I mean,
I just got angry.
How are we? How was everybody's weekend? Obviously, a lot of boxing this past weekend.
It wasn't bad, was it? Good weekend to fight. Too many fights, like too much. Spread it over the weeks so I can go to all of them. it was pretty much. Yeah, it was really good.
You were in Tokyo and Wolverhampton, weren't you? Barry Jones' time continuum.
I was in Tokyo in the morning, and then all of a sudden, 3 hours later, I'm in Wolverhampton, which is not the same. It was like Wolverhampton, actually. It was like really the atmosphere.
Yeah, it is.
I gotta say, I know it's like the York Hall. You've got the balcony, but you got another balcony on top.
It's a really good venue. I love it.
People don't fall off that.
Good point.
There's like a little metal like barrier token.
It's precarious.
They're all up there dancing. I mean, proper dancing as well. But it really good it was. Because I think even though Walker sells tickets and Eggington sells tickets, I think some of the undercards sold load tickets as well.
Yeah.
And it was jam packed. It was really good fun.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting weekend, wasn't it? We had Tokyo, Las Vegas, and Wolverhampton. It was like the back of the trotter van, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was your weekend, Andy?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, Saturday was a really good day, wasn't it? Just so cool of that in. Nice little kind of gap between Inoue and Nakatani and then the show in the evening. I went to the top tier show at York Hall on Sunday. It was good. Good top of the bill. Good win for Alguina. Sam Noakes back, doing exactly what you should against the kind of opponent that he had. And I know a lot of people were wondering why they were bothering with it, but he did what he needed to do. And it was good stuff.
You sell tickets, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh good. Yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah, I don't know whether he would have sold a lot for that one, but he can. And it was surprisingly not that hot in York Hall either. It was quite pleasant, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, everyone was saying it was really hot here last week, wasn't it?
Well, people get overexcited, don't they? I mean, at one point I think it might have been 20 degrees, and that's the cue where I live for everybody to kind of just take all their clothes off, really, and sort of parade around like it's much, much hotter than it is, which I never quite understand.
Where do you live?
Never you mind.
Just sort of as soon as you said take clothes off, you could just feel Barry on the other end of the sofa.
I'm a good height for that.
It was a packed weekend of boxing. I think I was saying before we came on air today, I think this is probably the most packed show that we've ever had, considering the amount of shows that are on this past weekend. And of course, this weekend as well, Fabio Wardley against Daniel Dubois.
Hang on a minute.
Go on.
How did you get on in the casinos? I'm invoicing you today. Right? And it's going to look bigger than what I said that to you off air. It's going to look like you're overpaying me, but you're massively underpaying me. Don't forget that, because I'm putting a big invoice for a block of shows. Just know, because you will have a moan about it, and you go.
I know how much you get. It won't be unexpected.
But no one likes to pay a lump sum, and I don't want to wait for it either. I mean, I want to do this in front of everyone, so I'm just telling you, I don't want to wait.
Is this you asking how my trip was because you're interested, or just so?
No. So if you made any money, like to pay me, that's what
I did okay. I did okay.
I'm getting an Uber home then.
I had a good fight week in Vegas. I'm not at my best today, as Andy very politely pointed out before we got going, but I'm sure we'll make it through.
Hair looks nicer.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, but this is why people like this show, because it's real, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very real. Yeah, I'll definitely attest to that.
You look better than you did in the photo you sent me of you in a cab, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, that was bad. The photo before then was really bad. I mean, the Saturday, we'll actually talk about some boxing soon, but the Saturday, was Inoue. I watched Ioka against Takuma Inoue at about 3 a.m. Vegas time, 3:30 a.m. I think it was. Then after that, the show finished at like 7 a.m. Then I had like an hour and a half sleep. Then we had Errol Spence against Tim Tszyu press conference, because that fight's just been announced for July the 25th or July 26th in Australia. And then Conah Walker against Sam Eggington started a couple of hours after that. And then Benavidez Zurdo started a couple of hours after that. And then I went to the casino at midnight after the Benavidez Zurdo fight, and I left at 7 p.m. So it was a pretty long day of it.
7 p.m.
Yeah.
19 hours.
Yeah, I had about half an hour because I had to go and check out my hotel and then come back.
Okay.
And then so I was
You're an absolute madman.
sponsored by Red Bull. Shout out Red Bull. Potential. There's a lot of other things that can keep you awake allegedly in Las Vegas, but Red Bull was my poison for the weekend. But it was very good. It was very good. I enjoyed myself in Las Vegas. We're not here to talk about my.
So did you have a problem?
No, I was playing poker. Poker is a long, drawn-out affair when you're playing poker. So it was a long old slog, but did okay. Ready for your invoice. Anyway, let's talk about
As long
this.
as your problem pays me, that's all I care about.
Yeah, exactly. He's not bothered at all as long as the money hits the Jones account. But anyway, there was quite a lot of boxing, so less stories about my casino activities and more talk about that. Andy, going to come to you first. There's only one place to start. We're going to go in time order, and that was, of course, Naoya Inoue against Junto Nakatani for all of the marbles at super bantamweight. You know, everybody on this show, everybody kind of the wider boxing public, very much looking forward to the fight. What were your thoughts on it?
I thought it lived up to the billing. I thought it delivered. It was a huge fight, the pinnacle of the sport, and I think that's what it kind of resonated to me as I was watching it. Two really top operators, one just a bit too good for the other one, and that's what we thought would happen, and that's how it kind of played out. I never felt like Inoue he was in any real danger, particularly at any point, but as people picked out, the 11th round was one where you saw him just go out and do what champions do, which is if they feel they need to redress the balance slightly, or they might be in need of a kind of clutch round, he produced it. We've seen Usyk do it a few times in big fights, and he was able to do that. And when the fight finished, I don't think there was any real doubt as to who had won it. But I think at the same time, it was a fight of high quality, which we expected it to be. I don't think it was ever going to be some kind of toe-to-toe classic where they just held their feet and let their hands go. That was never going to happen, was it? And I think if you were expecting that, then you were being slightly unrealistic. But it doesn't have to be that to be a really entertaining fight. We got that later in Wolverhampton. That was absolutely tremendous. But we weren't going to get that in Tokyo. We didn't get it, but what we did get was still really good.
Barry?
Yeah, I think the early rounds, that was sort of a fight two halves in many ways, but with activity. I mean, the reputations precede themselves, so they know they can make a mistake. So no one's willing to make that first move to risk it. But Inoue was the one looking to try and be aggressive and take the centre of the ring, and his feet were fantastic. The little skips out and then he comes back in, so he gets out of distance, but just enough to the next step back in, put you back under pressure. And Nakatani just wasn't willing at that stage to throw that left hand. So I don't think he did throw a left hand for like 3 or 4 rounds. And that's what he needs to do. And so there was no real danger for Inoue there. So I think it helped him feel comfortable. And even though the rounds were tight, he was taking the rounds just by doing a little bit more and darting in now and again. But then Rudy Hernandez in the corner, I couldn't really hear what he was saying often enough. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but I think he said, "You've got to let your hands go." Like, got to, no. And I just think that was the spark he needed, Nakatani. He started to throw long. I mean, you can let your hands go. You're never in a safe place with Inoue, because one, he can punch incredibly hard, and his feet are really good. But Nakatani can punch long rather than lean forwards as he so often does, and shortens that distance because he has the power. But he did punch long with the shot, and once he got confidence doing that, he started to let his hands go a bit more, and he grabbed some rounds back. And then all that did was make Inoue up his game, which is what we wanted. So we didn't get a war, but we got more of that physical chess match or whatever, for want of a better phrase, that we thought we'd see early on in the fight, I think. So we sort of had we got the real tentative side but you could see him thinking, and the anticipation was making it more exciting than the action itself, I think. Oh, he made a mistake there. Or when they both dived in at times, didn't they? And they had that clash of heads, which that cut over the eye definitely did affect Nakatani. But I knew he needed to I had him winning the fight anyway, but I think once he won that 11th round, I think I said in commentary, that's probably winning the fight now. And I think he probably won it the round before that for me, but I mean, that was enough for him to cement it in any. If you had some of the earlier rounds one the other way, then if he loses the 11th round as well, then they might be getting a little bit tight. But he did what champions do, just up this pace. Because there was a point in that, I can't remember, it was 9th or 10th round, maybe 8. No,
I gave Nakatani 8 to 10.
Yeah, I did as well. But there was a point, I can't remember which round it was now, which I should cover talking about. But
always prepared.
He looked a bit tired in the way. I mean, we've seen him a little bit, but not like that. And at one age, I think all that thinking constantly, I think that just all of a sudden he looked a little bit drained, and you started to think, and Nakatani was coming on strong, and you started to think maybe this fight's going to turn now. Yeah, I stopped then because you two said something to each other.
No, it's just my stomach's going crazy.
It's the Red Bull.
Yeah. Oh, the Red Bull's tearing my insides apart.
It's percolating in my system.
Listen, if you shit your pants now, I won't chat. I won't invoice you for any show, right?
To be fair,
I won't invoice you for any show.
Sounds like a good deal.
It's like it sounds like a jackass show. Go on, shit yourself, right? I'll do it for free, and so will Andy. I'll pay for Andy's shows, right?
Thanks for bringing attention to that.
But I think ultimately in the end, I enjoyed it actually. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, it was a really enjoyable fight.
There was no massive moment. The biggest moment was probably the clash of heads. But it was really good. It was really good. And the right guy won. He's just brilliant, isn't he? He's brilliant. Because what he is, he's unique, that he's a massive puncher. Not just a puncher, he's a massive puncher who has a great engine and technical prowess of a non-puncher. And you very rarely get that. They always got something missing, haven't they? And he doesn't have anything. His feet are superb, his judgment of distance is great, but his engine, that he can punch, he can throw loads of punches and just keep that going. Though I did say he tired a bit, but that's the mental game with them two. And yeah, and he keeps his shape well all the time. This form is fantastic from 12 through 12 rounds, and that's the difference. There's just no edges to him. He's all just seamlessly good, an all-round good, great fighter in every aspect. I mean, he doesn't roll. There you go. Doesn't roll under punches, maybe.
Yeah,
but his feet go like this and they're not good enough.
There was some of those the highlights that are kind of flicking around now about him when he goes to land the right hand, misses, rolls under, and you just see Nakatani just missing him.
Yeah.
I think he did it 3 times in the fight, and then the third one is where he rolls under, then he lands the uppercut, which is the shot that, by all accounts, looks like it was the one that broke Nakatani's orbital bone. But he's just,
a couple of times, or one time, especially, it happened a couple of times, but they did a replay on one where they both threw shots and they both missed.
Yeah.
And they sort of looked at each other.
And you sort of see Inoue like rolling with, and the left hand just comes whizzing past his face. I mean, he is unbelievable. I mean, you mentioned it there, like but Inoue's kind of willingness to just put himself in there a little bit more at times than Nakatani, particularly in those early rounds. But it's something that you mentioned in the preview show, kind of. You mentioned it in correlation to Canelo and that big Canelo occasion where you get a fighter who's, I mean, Nakatani's been in some big fights, but this is a completely different level. And just in a way, just a little bit more comfortable in those first 6 rounds, was able to kind of pick those rounds up without landing too much. I felt like there was a lot that was going on between them with feints and positioning, and I felt like Inoue was just the one who looked the boss in there and was just able to push Nakatani back. But he almost kind of felt like once it got to 5, 6, 7, Nakatani Rudy Hernandez kind of preempted it, but just felt a little bit more comfortable with letting his hands go and settled into things. But by that time, I had him 5 rounds to 1 down after 6 rounds.
Yeah, me too, I did as well, yeah.
And it's a difficult fight to then come to drag yourself back into. Credit to him for doing that. I mean, you always say, Barry, and you said on comms on Saturday, it takes a great fighter to change the flow of the fight. And I think we saw it a couple of times there, which is testament to how good they are. Nakatani in those middle rounds kind of bringing himself back into the fight. And then Inoue in 11 and 12, winning those rounds and rubber stamping the fight. I mean, again, I think comes down to experience in those big moments. Inoue after looking tired and looking a little bit dishevelled at times. I think Nakatani had probably the best round I've seen anybody have against him. I think it was the 9th round or the 10th round. But in a way, after the fight, he said that he needed to save something for the last couple of rounds and he wanted to win those rounds. He said he felt like he was ahead, whether we believe him or not. I mean, the proof is in the pudding for him in winning round 11 and winning round 12 and ultimately getting over the line. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, not every fight is going to be Gatti Ward or Pereira Morales. And, sometimes those high-speed technical chess matches are really, really watchable in their own way.
Yeah, it's a skill sport. It's a skill sport that we're watching here. And that was skill, a very, very high level of skill. And, every now and again you might get a fight that's a high level of skill and out and out savagery also, but the two generally don't go together that much, and you've got to appreciate everything for what it brings. And it was good to watch. It was one of those ones where, yeah, like I said, I never felt like he was in any real trouble, but he obviously felt like he needed to go out and win those last couple of rounds.
Yeah, he says that he kept it in the tank, whether we buy that or not. I mean,
you get a second win. He struggled. He just had a little bit. You get that in fights all the time. I think I forget how hard it is. 12 rounds. I'm always going, oh, he's tiring now, so you should be tiring. I mean, fitness is the recovery, not getting tired. You should get tired in every round, really. And the fitness is is when you recover to go and do it again. But I mean, he did have a bit of a round. I don't think he was taking it off. He just felt a little bit flat and tired. You could see it. And momentum's a weird thing in boxing. I say it all the time, and I don't know why it is, but it is. When someone has a good round, it just mentally just gives them some sort of stimulation, and they're a little bit sharper than they were. And then you're a little bit flat. See it in football games, and obviously you're winning 3-0, and you sit on a lead, and you're under pressure all of a sudden, and you can't pull it back. I mean, you might still win 3-0, but I mean you're under attack. Well, why is that when you've been dominant? It's a mental thing. It really is. It's such an important part. But it's a funny thing, for two massive punches, the power wasn't a factor on Saturday. Really, it wasn't, was it?
No.
I mean, the fear of power was a massive factor. And those early rounds there, probably more with Nakatani. He didn't want to throw that left hand because he didn't want to leave himself vulnerable. He didn't want to miss. That's what it was, I think, for me. I think the fear of missing and what comes back. Because if with the old sharp, we said this on last week, the feet of Inoue, the way the little movements he does with his feet, bum 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 bum, so sharp. Especially in those early rounds when he's fresh, he makes you miss. He can jump back in so quickly, and so if you don't get it right, you're better off not throwing it at all.
That's a massive part of it, I think, as well. And I think that's why a lot of the time when it is, and we don't get these fights every week, obviously, but a lot of the time when it is two very high level fighters up against each other, you get that kind of fight because at that level, you can't just step into the middle of the ring and start swinging. You'll get slaughtered if you do that, and so they're aware of the potential price that you will pay for a mistake. And that can lead to a lot of shaping and sometimes not all that much happening. And that's why. And that just makes complete and utter sense. They've spent their whole lives doing this. They know what they're doing in there. They're not going to go out and make some kind of basic schoolboy error. And sometimes it can translate into, maybe not that much is happening. But I think if you watch a lot of boxing, and particularly if you've done it, you will know that there's an awful lot going on. It's just not translating into a lot landing. Yeah,
it's not always punches thrown. It's not always a kind of an indicator of what's happening. One thing that I want to talk about specifically on Inoue's performance, you mentioned it in commentary, and I was about 5 minutes before then about to tweet it, and then you said it, and I thought if I tweet it now, it looks like I'm copying Barry. But anyway, Inoue's foot position against the southpaw I found really interesting. Yeah. It was on the inside an awful lot and jabbing through the middle. Just explain that and what that did for him.
I say, you try and get your foot on the outside always, because when you get your foot on the outside of a southpaw, I mean, we should stand up and demonstrate. It's more you get your shot over. If they throw a straight punch, you get your shot over theirs. Southpaw get a shot over yours, and orthodox get your shot over yours, which helps you get the better. But more importantly, it's for your backhand, because then you're down the middle. And if you're on the inside, you've got to turn more of an angle to get that straight powerful shot down there. So it's always beneficial, not essential, beneficial to get your foot on the outside. A lot of people do quite often like to dart in. If you come in low and get your foot inside, you can come in and you punch up like he did, but you got to come back out with it. And there's still a risk that if you go up against someone who's really sharp, if they take a little step back and see it, you're in there, you're in the middle here, on an angle a little bit, and you're easier to hit. But he did it really, really well. But I still think it's a risky, for a lot of people, it's risky. You do things that work, the things that are obviously the right things to do, and then you have your variance on it. So people always go, he's not to get your foot on the outside, because he never did it. But he's a great fighter with great timing and judgment of distance. He knows what he's doing, and he's taking an educated risk. But like, you do that and you're not good at it, or you haven't got fast feet, you don't step back out with it, or your jab's not super fast, or you don't come in low, then you see what happens against someone who's really good, who's a good southpaw. They'll tap you in the middle, they'll line you up in the middle, and knock you up with a straight left hand on the pipe. So it's always good to get your foot on the outside. That's the rule you should always stick by, but it doesn't have to be that way.
I felt like that was
explain that right though.
Yeah. I just felt like it was kind of emblematic of some of what we're talking about with kind of Inoue, just a few more variations where he was just willing to risk it and do things slightly differently to Nakatani. You mentioned there kind of the three different.
Him doing that though, because then when you step inside, you're sort of half cutting across. So you come up with the uppercuts, but I mean, it takes away his ability to throw the right hand then as well, because he's almost coming in this way. So he's not quite, I'm over exaggerating the term, but you're sort of turned, and it gives your fighter the option to spin around, which actually...
He did land that right hand a few times though, like in the first few rounds, which I did think to myself, how's he done that? Because
there was a few of that from Inoue, wasn't
he's a long, tall guy, Nakatani, obviously, and
he sits on the back foot.
But he got there, which...
His feet are fast, isn't he?
Yeah. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah,
I thought he was
any point of technique like you were describing there, it's always the established technique is there for a reason, and almost everybody will do that, because to not do it is too much of a gamble, because you've got to be really, really good. Yeah, basically. Well, and it's tempting, you know. I'm sure there were I know there were trainers up and down the country when Naz was boxing, cursing him because everybody came into the gym and wanted to box like Naz, but
and maybe with the shoulder roll.
Everybody's trying to do things and you just think, but they are they're the exception that prove the rule. They're why you definitely shouldn't do that, because hardly anybody can.
Yeah, Duran slipping punches coming forward. It's brilliant to learn, but to do that all the time is such a risk, because it's almost impossible to miss with every shot. You've got to be Duran, or box like Pernell Whitaker. Twisting your body and bending over backwards, like, you know, the things he would do. He was brilliant, but you can't teach someone that way, because you have to have that fantastic vision and eye and rhythm and timing and also and luck as well to go with it.
Andy, I'm going to come to you first. Do we need to see a rematch?
No, I don't think so necessarily. I mean, I wouldn't be horrified if we got offered a rematch, but I think if you're Inoue, I don't see why you would feel like that needed to happen, either because you felt like he necessarily deserved one because there was any debate about the decision, or because that's the next logical big thing for you to do. I think there are other options out there for him.
Barry, what do you think?
No, I don't. If I was Nakatani, I'd try and get it, because I think you would probably try and be a bit braver in the early rounds. I mean, the risk you get knocked out then. But I think he would probably kick himself for not trying to do that. Looking back, at the time, he probably thought he was doing the right thing, and maybe he was. But looking back, you think if I could have nicked one or two of those earlier rounds, then maybe it's a closer fight then, isn't it? I mean, don't know what's going to happen. The pattern changes, but I don't think so. I mean, he didn't win it clearly, but he was a clear enough winner, wasn't he? I think anyway. So, and also, like, it's still a risky fight to take. You never know. Nakatani's braver and goes for it more, maybe. Then there's still a risk that you get knocked out. So you've done that now. No, if the money's there, and it was a huge fight and a great occasion for Japanese boxing, really was. But you got to find this next big fight now, anyway. Where's that coming from?
Well, I mean, he does have a few options, which we'll come on to. But then I don't know. I'd love to watch the fight again, and it'd be interesting to see kind of how. I mean,
I think it'd be a different fight again.
Well, it depends, as you know. Do they pick up? Is it round 13 or is it round 1 of the second fight? You know, how does it go? Like, do we see Nakatani throw a bit more caution to the wind early on? But again, he's doing that against the fresh Inoue, who's also, you know, a genius in his own right. He will have known things about Nakatani now that he didn't know beforehand, and he'll be able to adjust. It's not like only one fighter. We've said this before about Alexander Usyk. You know, it's not just one guy who's going to make the adjustments and be better for the second fight. Inoue could do that, and you know, arguably is the best fighter in the world, so he's going to be able to implement that. One thing that I would say is the clash of heads was significant at a time where Nakatani was just that was the third consecutive round that I gave him, and it was the clash of heads towards the end of that 10th round. Inoue, of course, came out in the 11th round and, you know, won that big, but if that clash of heads isn't there, is the 11th round the same?
Yeah.
Is it a different fight?
You don't know, do you?
There are a few points, I guess, where we could kind of look at, and is that going to be the same or is that going to be different?
But it makes it a very close fight then. If you win the next 2 rounds, it makes it a very close fight. And then people are saying that, and then some people are going, no, I don't know, I got him winning. And I still wouldn't have had him winning, but we're the same as you.
Yeah. If Nakatani goes out and wins 11 and 12, I'd have had it a draw. So yeah, I wouldn't. You know, there's maybe a fight or two that I would probably want to see before then. But I mean, if they were to do that again, I don't think anybody would be disappointed. But going to come to you first, Barry. Where next for Naoya Inoue? Obviously, he's cleaned up at 122 pounds. He's beaten Ahmad Aliyev. He's beaten Junto Nakatani. He's beaten Cardenas. You know, Marlon Tapales. He's kind of cleared out the division. Does he go to featherweight next? There's the rumours. There's all of the talk about Bam Rodriguez moving up to super bantamweight for a potential fight either at the start of 2027.
But it's all from people who don't care about him. Bam moving up. His trainer's not saying, is he?
No.
Do you know what I mean? All the people, everyone else who's either involved in him or just love boxing, they want to see it. People who work in the industry. I mean, I've lived it. It's a great fight to watch for us, selfishly. But he's not big enough yet. He hasn't boxed a bantamweight yet. How's he going to cope with that? All of a sudden, it might be. I don't think he will. There are all the brilliant things, and I'm no bigger fan than me of Bam. Can you find one? Find one. Yeah. Exactly. I'll wait. I mean, he might not be able to do the same things at bantamweight. We don't know yet, do we? I mean, but that's moving up 2 weights, and the guy's only an extra £4, 3. I mean, for a little guy, we've said this discussion a million times, and it's a big difference. And so, like, he needs time. Couple of fights at bantam, couple of fights at super bantam. Nakatani might look back now and go, well, maybe I could have done 1 or 2 more fights at super bantamweight first, but he never. And I don't think that would have been the difference, but it might have been. But he's 7'2", and Bam's not. So I don't think Bam needs to risk that. I mean, if he gets there and Inoue's still there, then brilliant. But don't rush up there. The problem is someone's going to offer him stupid money for it and he'll take it. Yep. And he might win, by the way, because he's brilliant. But he's up against another brilliant fighter. So with more cards in his pocket than you got in yours. So you're going in, you know, with a half-loaded gun. It makes no sense to me. Yeah, if you're in the BAM business, if you're in the BAM care business, there you go.
Which you very much are. Yeah,
if you're in the BAM, let's make some money business, then you just take that's the biggest fight for you. I'm not slagging anyone off, but there's loads of people like who are calling for it. But as a boxing fan, we just want to see the best fights. But then where does that end? Why don't Canelo box Usyk? That's been talked about, hasn't it? But I mean, it's a ridiculous fight, though, isn't it? But I mean, we'll just chuck the fantasy fights with everybody. I would say featherweight. I should answer your question quicker. It's a long show. I would say move at the featherweight now. Cause I didn't realise it, but someone said he balloons up between fights. I never thought he would. If that's true, then
he can't have much time to balloon up between fights. He's been fighting 4 times a year for the last.
No, but someone said he comes in really heavy.
He rehydrates quite a lot after.
But then featherweight would be the next step. Yeah. But they're all. We have a generation here of massive featherweights, by the way. They're really big, tall featherweights. But it'd be good, you know. It's not a bad fight there, is it? Him and Brandon Figueroa is a great fight. Him and Andrew Leo, if he wins on Saturday, is a great fight. Him and Espinosa is a great fight.
Carrington. Great fight.
Yeah, I think Carrington's the one everyone avoids for a minute. I know he's great, but he's the length of his arms and the way he fights he can fight different styles. I just think he's hard work for everybody. I'm massively on Carrington. I am not to beat Inoue as being the best in that division.
Interesting, Andy. What do you think? Where next for the monster?
I think it'll be Rodriguez because there'll be too much money on the table, and they'll kind of have no choice but to do it. And for Inoue, it'd be brilliant because it'd be a huge fight, a massive payday, and you're getting him most likely before he's really ready, or not as ready as he would be if you were to get him in 2 or 3 fights' time when you're that bit older and maybe approaching the stage where you're not shop worn necessarily, but you're on that tipping point between supersonic and seasoned, and maybe just starting to go down the other side of the hill, because it will happen to him, because it happens to absolutely everyone. So this would be a great time to fight Bam Rodriguez if you're Inoue, wouldn't it?
Yeah. He said that,
and it would be a mega event, wouldn't it too?
No.
Yeah,
he said Bam styles is he does a lot. Bam does a lot of good things. That remember I said about Inoue, why I think I thought he would stop Nakatani, because Nakatani comes out in straight lines. Bam does that semicircle thing better than anyone, doesn't he? Better than anyone ever. I mean, he and that's what you need with Inoue, because he if he goes those 2 little steps out really quickly, brilliantly, makes you miss, comes back in. But if he makes you miss, and if you pivot there, him coming back in, he hasn't had that yet. Inoue done to him. So that's where Bam would be at his best. So stylistically, he has the right fight. He got crazy long arms, punches hard with every shot, and punches when he moves as well, which is another thing that Inoue's not used to. But yeah, I'm not saying Inoue can't adapt to that, but I mean, he has the right sort of style. But I think that embedding into the weight's really important, and that would make him a massive disadvantage.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Inoue's plans are. He said after the fight that he's going to take most of the rest of the year off, or he's going to take a bit of time. I mentioned there, he's fought 4 times a year. If you actually go, somebody put it out on social media, but I can't remember who or what the actual thing was, where the actual time between spells of 4 of his fights have been literally 12 months, going back to when he was down at bantamweight. So if anybody deserves a bit of a layoff, particularly for a fight of that magnitude, you'd think it would be him. What about Bam Rodriguez against Junto Nakatani?
Yeah.
And the winner goes on to face Inoue. You could get Bam against Inoue, or you could get the rematch. I think that would be great. I mean, you talk about the best fight to kind of dip your toe into at super bantamweight. I mean, it's probably not quite dipping your toe in if you're going up and boxing Junto Nakatani. It's more like throwing you into the deep end a little bit. But you're going to have some sort of fight at 122, surely.
But the same rule applies. He's having his first fight at bantamweight.
Yeah.
Have another one at bantamweight, at least. I don't think Bam goes back down to super flies.
No, I don't think so.
I know that undisputed thing would be great to have, but I don't think he does.
That was the kind of the talk, wasn't it? And then it's calmed down a little bit. Robert Garcia has sort of said, look, we'll see how we feel, but I don't think so. I think we'll probably go there and then I'll go up to 122.
There's some good fights at bantamweight for him.
Yeah, I mean Takuma Inoue.
He boxed brilliant.
Yeah, God, didn't he?
He was very good. We'll come on to talk about Takuma shortly. Final question that we've got on Inoue versus Nakatani. We asked it beforehand. Is Naoya Inoue now pound for pound number 1?
This week.
Yeah, he is.
I think so. I do.
He
beat it was a quick show. I mean, he just beat another top 10 pound for pounder, which he is, Nakatani, in his prime, and he beat him. I mean, that's enough, isn't it? I think that tops it up.
Yeah, no controversy. He definitely did win, and it's a win in a massive fight.
Yeah, arguably the biggest fight that he'll have in his career, and same for Nakatani as well. We were talking about it beforehand, and somebody asked me, did like a preview when I was over in Vegas, and somebody had asked me, is
did
this?
You? For who?
Yeah,
okay.
The fight site. Shout out the fight site. Kyle.
Don't shout at the shows.
It's fine. Just no other bookies. Betfred, gamble responsibly. Anyway. Yeah, it was the biggest test of Inoue's career, and you kind of look back at Stephen Fulton unbeaten, but still, I think Inoue. I think Nakatani was still the bigger threat out of those guys. You look back at Manny Rodriguez and Donaire, and I think Nakatani was the most in his prime, as you said there, unbeaten. A win like that at this stage of your career has to be to be still having your biggest wins of your career in your 30s kind of shows the longevity. He's been a world champion now, I think, for 12 years in a way, and to have your kind of crowning moment come in now. I mean, for me, he's pound for pound.
And also, what would have been really interesting about being there, I think you made the right decision to go to Las Vegas. And let's be real, it was the only one you were ever going to make. Given the 2 fights we had on offer, it would have been interesting to be there to see how big it was. And I suspect if you'd gone, or if any of us had gone, we'd have come away from it just thinking that was even bigger than I thought, because it's 2 people from the same country fighting each other.
Yeah, I mean,
in a country which is mad about combat sports, where Inoue he's got kind of godlike status, but it's hard to get a read on it if you're not there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the numbers that have come out from it. The pay-per-view numbers have been massive. The gate numbers, I reckon the gate was $32 million.
Yeah.
It's like I think it's the 6th or the 5th or somewhere like that, the biggest gates in history. Obviously, it's such a long way away, and it's a completely different culture that, you get all of these people, don't you? Why doesn't he come and fight in America? That's where all the money is, mate. It's just
he has
50,
actually.
but also he's just done 55,000.
You used to have some Americans say, well, he's not a great fighter until he comes to America. I mean, that's just...
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Absolute horseshit.
It's just kind of like there is a whole different world out there. But yeah, I mean, you see the numbers on offer there, and that's why a Bam Rodriguez fight would happen. As much as we love Phoenix, great place to go and watch boxing, would happen if it does happen at Tokyo in way makes the most money.
Yeah, he calls the shots as well, doesn't he? He's the man.
Absolutely. Right, before we move on to Wolverhampton, Barry, you mentioned there Takuma Inoue against a great champion and somebody who's been a pound-for-pound level fighter in Kazuto Ioka. Takuma Inoue, completely dominant, scored those 2 early knockdowns. Ioka, maybe without taking anything away from Takuma Inoue, looks like he might have seen better years.
Yeah, I think he has seen better years, I do, but he's still a good enough fighter. I mean, he was going in our list of only a few fighters who'd be 5-weight world champions. I mean, if he would have won, he was never in the races. And Inoue was brilliant. I thought he was fantastic. He got the balance right between strength, speed, intelligence. Just got it right. He went for it when he thought he could. He boxed when he wasn't quite sure. He had a guy who was slow, whose feet were clearly much slower than his, and just boxed rings around him. But everything he threw was with authority. I thought he boxed really well. I thought he was going to get the stoppage at some point. Didn't get it, but he didn't. But that didn't affect him. And then when he did hurt Ioka, he didn't lose his shape and go like a lunatic. He kept his composure throughout, and that's what champions should do. You know what I mean? It was a real professional display from him. I thought he boxed outstanding. I think I joked like sometime in the day before his brother got a lot to follow up. No, pressure's on the brother. But I also said it was perfect for the family, because I always thought it was bad for the family having Takuma boxing on the same night as his brother's biggest night. Such a big night was just stupid, because the dad's there. Inoue's got to watch that. No, Inoue, so he's got to watch that while he's preparing for his fight. What if his brother gets battered?
Yeah.
Or if he gets knocked out?
It's a gamble,
you made
isn't it?
reference in the broadcast when when Stephen Smith got stopped by Lee
and
Selby.
Paul Smith, we had to watch it. And luckily, Paul Smith was only a 6th rounder. But even then, it's a thing. What if Paul was defending his British title? I think he was British champion at the time, wasn't he, Paul? But I mean, either way, it's just a mad thing. Because I've boxed the same night. My brother got stopped. I got best boxer of the night.
Best boxer in the family.
But I boxed first. But what if you see it's horrible watching that? But and also the dad, was he? So the way it was like a risk-free fight for him in the end, he just boxed brilliantly. Early on, you knew it was only going to go one way, and then it was a point where does he go for it now and really try and get that show real finish, or just do what he should do and just win the fight, hassle-free, no danger-free, and that's what he did.
Shingo went away after 6 rounds. He's like, I'll go warm up nowhere now.
He could have done. He had it in the bag. He boxed brilliant, and I think that helps him. I mean, if Bam beats Vargas and picks up a version of the world title, then maybe that fight could be made. That's
surely got to be the plan, right? I mean, Bam Rodriguez against Takuma Inoue. So obviously Takuma's a good fighter, very good fighter. You mentioned this again on broadcast. I do listen to you when you said, if his name wasn't Takuma Inoue, everyone would be lauding him as great. If his name was Takuma Jones, everyone would be talking about, it is in his brother's shadow, and it can only be when the shadow is so vast. But anyway, right.
Well, I fancy Ioka coming into the fight.
Yeah.
If he can pull back the thing
because you've seen Takuma be outboxed.
Yeah.
Incredible start though, wasn't it? That first knockdown, I know we need to move on, but that first knockdown particularly, he had to kind of change direction and angle about 3 times to keep landing. I watched it like quite a few times just thinking, wow, was impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. Very, very impressive night for the Inoue family. Shingo Inoue, when it comes down to your trainer of the year at the end of the year, don't forget him just because he's not doing interviews every 10 minutes. Right, okay. Maybe that's not a dig at anybody, but anyway. Yes, moving on. I don't fucking care. I don't have a job. Moving on.
As good as your fighter, trainers.
Moving on to Wolverhampton. I'm looking at my phone because my laptop's out of battery. I've got everything on here. Conah Walker versus Sam Eggington. I think we all predicted, it wasn't necessarily the fight. It didn't have the accolades of Inoue Nakatani. It didn't have kind of the fever pitch around it like Benavidez Zurdo. I think we all predicted that this was going to be a cracking fight.
The whole thing, it should be called I Predict a Riot, shouldn't it, after the song?
Yeah,
it should have been called that.
It was great.
Get you in the marketing team, Barry. But anyway, great fight, wasn't it, in Wolverhampton between Conah Walker and Sam Eggington. Conah Walker just doing enough to outlast Sam Eggington in a cracking fight.
It was, but we all picked Conah Walker to win, didn't we?
No, I didn't.
You didn't.
You did.
No.
But as the fight got closer, I started to think, do you know what? I can see him getting outboxed here. Like, you forget how good Eggington's jab is. And how long he can punch. We always remind, I think I said on the broadcast, we always think about the wars and how tough he is, his resilience. He can box a bit. He's not a classical boxer, but he's long and he punches long and he's fast. And I can see the reasons why you thought he would win it. And he was winning the fight. And there was points in the fight, but it wasn't even hard for him, by the way. I don't think early on, it wasn't. But Walker's one of these freak of natures. He is. He's one of these guys and I think he's a freak of nature where he takes so many punches. You tend to start to think, what's he going to be like when he gets to 40 and my age? I mean, he's not going to remember his career. But I got a feeling he's going to be one of those guys who just walks away injured, like literally damage free. You see him. No way is he not going to walk away here unscathed from this sport the way he fights. But I think he's one of those just mad freak guys who just can go on the lash for 6 weeks and then trains hard. And gets down in weight and it's full of energy. The energy he's got is just weird. Because taking punches like he took punches on Saturday, they should just drain your engine where you can't lift your arms up anymore. Taking punches is hard. It ruins you, not just the pain. I mean, it tires you, it knackers you out. I mean, because you're absorbing it, your body's in constant shock all the time. And he just got boom, 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 boom all the time. He's just relentless. And also, there's no when he boxed McCormack, he moved his head a bit, didn't he? I was surprised how much how more savvy he was than I'd seen him in previous fights, and he went back to normal. I mean, you couldn't miss him with your eyes closed, to be honest. That's the truth of it. And I thought he's going to walk this. I thought this is not even hard for Eggington. But he just grinds you down, and as soon as you tire, then he seems to get that sort of like that nasty bit of I can let my hands go now a little bit more. And it was a good stoppage in the end because Eggington was just absolutely exhausted. I mean, Walker's a problem for everybody to a level because how do you stop him from coming forward? So you're going to box him, but at some point in the fight, he's going to get you where he wants you. And then it's down to how much engine you got. I mean, my style would have a better chance against him, not trying to hit hard. I just throwing lots of punches, but not trying to knock him out. Because, you're trying to hit him hard. He walks through it anyway. It's almost irrelevant. You've got to resign yourself to, listen, I can't stop this kid. It's going to go 12 rounds. Don't waste the energy in trying to knock him out. Just throw lots of shots and keep him light, keep your feet moving. Just train on running away. Like me. So I'll fight you, Conah Walker.
Because I think that's an interesting point because if you are in there with him, it would be so tempting to feel that surely the next one's going to make it.
No.
And I can understand why you would think that. You just think, surely, this is impossible. He can't just keep taking these. And then he does keep taking them. And you've lost. And it was just such a good fight to watch. But you wouldn't have thought that he was the one going up in weight. If you're the one moving up to super welterweight for the first time to box a very seasoned, legendarily tough
and big
and also high achieving fighter, you wouldn't expect him to have the complete confidence that he still had, that, like you said, I'm just going to keep coming forward. I will take what you give me. I will grind you down. I will get to you, and then it's over for you. I will break you. I was just really impressed by that. I mean, in a way, I guess you could say, well, that's how he does it. So what else is he going to do? He's not going to all of a sudden get up on his toes because he's moved up in weight. But if you'd asked me to guess, or anyone to guess, I think, if they didn't know who these two people were, which is the one who's been at the weight for a long time and which is the one who's moved up, you probably put it the other way around. You probably would have said that Walker was the one who had been there for a long time and that Eggington was the one moving up.
Yeah. He showed. I think it's one of the few predictions, pre-fight predictions I got right, where Walker just had that freshness, didn't he? I think in Eggington, I mentioned it on the show.
Of course, that's
Eggington against Lee Cutler was a similar sort of fight where Eggington was ahead in that fight, and then the fight was stopped on a cut, and Eggington had just started to slow down in 8 and 9, and he's had a real long, hard career. He's still incredibly tough, but it's fighting at a high pace, and certainly Conah Walker fights at a higher pace than Lee Cutler, and you could just see, couldn't you? It's sort of at the end of 8 and 9. Yeah. When was the first knockdown? It was 8, I think. I can't. Whatever. I can't. So much boxing. It was all blurred.
Yeah, I think it was 8.
Yeah, where you could just sort of see from that moment on, you just think, okay, right, he's now going to get to him, and he did, and it was impressive. And look, the Conah Walker show continues to roll on. I mean, that's 3 wins now, consecutive wins where, I think a lot of people have favoured the other guy to beat him, or certainly, fights of good level. The Harry Scarf fight was a mile behind in that fight, was not miles behind against Pat McCormack, but everybody, anointed Pat McCormack as the future of the welterweight division, and he did a good job on him, stopped him late, and has now stopped Sam Eggington. With that in mind, Andy, going to come to you. Where next for Conah Walker? We saw him with a pretty brash call out of Conor Benn after the fight, calling him out for a slot on the undercard of a fight that's not been announced yet in AJ Fury. But what do we want to see next for him? I'm assuming he goes back down to 147 pounds, and that's where he kind of continues and charges for a world title. But where would you like to see him go next?
Well, I mean, I would absolutely love to see that fight against Conor Benn, and unsurprisingly, Eddie Hearn's calling for that now. He wasn't that keen on it when he actually had both of them under his charge. I don't remember him itching to make that fight. That would be absolutely fantastic. But back in the real world, I think we know that one isn't going to happen. So he needs to make moves towards a world title, doesn't he? Yeah. That's the next logical thing for him to do, because I just don't see. Although with the people involved in boxing, with Turki Al-Sheikh and the funds that are available there to make things happen, the seemingly impossible happen, I guess you would probably caveat anything these days with, you never know. It's not impossible, but I do struggle to see it. Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say, and this is something that was mentioned by Oscar De La Hoya out in Vegas. There is, the talk of Conor Benn against Ryan Garcia has subsided. That's true. Ryan Garcia now talking about potentially boxing Devin Haney or potentially boxing Rolly Romero. They're the kind of the word that was coming out from Oscar De La Hoya, which is something that we saw from David Benavidez afterwards. Well, he's at Zuffa. Zuffa don't want to fight for world titles. Zuffa, Ryan's got the WBC belt. They don't want to fight for belts. How much of that is kind of public media jostling and jockeying for position, who knows? But it's not as, it seems kind of a bit of a nailed on thing a few weeks back, and it's probably less than that now. I haven't really noticed, but that has gone really quiet, and we don't need to get into it in detail now, but we'll talk about it with regard to Benavidez as well, and a potential fight with Opetaia. Is Zuffa going to really hold the line on this, or are they going to have to move that line? And it's also we mentioned it last week. I kind of think that from the kind of traditional promoter's point of view as well, it's like, no, you don't want to fight for this belt, do you? You were saying this. No, you stay over there. It's okay. And they're like, no, but no, don't worry. No, you made it very clear. Yeah, exactly. But then again, Turkey comes with a big boatload of money, and they go, actually, yeah, you can fight for the belt. Come on. But anyway, we'll wait and see. The Opetaia thing, people go like, Opetaia made a mistake. But if he was offered massive money, I mean, sometimes you take the money what's in front of you because you don't know what's around the corner. You have to. I mean, for your career, it might not be the best thing, but if it's financially, you'll get, like, same with Conor Benn. If he gets 50 million for, just for turning up, whatever, then how would you say no? Because you're a long time retired, and you might feel a brain scan, like me, in your next fight, never box again, or get seriously hurt, like Glenn Byrne. And not have a bleed on the brain, not be able to box again. You don't know things. It's a dangerous sport. The money's in front of you. Take it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think. And I always. If your career is suicide. No, it just I'm always amazed that people don't understand that sometimes. Like it's easy to kind of plot this ideal career for someone and play the long game, and a lot of the time people do have to do that early on. But you get offered a boatload of cash, take it.
And you can't blame the fighters. You got to be the people given the opportunities to avoid fights and avoid the betterment of the sport, where people are all boxing to become the best and fighting each other and splitting it up. That's them. I mean, you're offering a fight. You're offering someone with no money or a lot of money, then they're going to take it. I mean, so you can't blame that. You have to blame the people who are in charge. Yeah. Whoever they are, I don't know, the organisations, the promoters, the TV company, I don't know who it is. If they want a better, cleaner sport or easy sport to understand for the public, then they all have to get their heads together. You can't blame the worker bees. You have to blame the queen bees.
Okay, well, Conor Ben versus Conah Walker is not going to happen. Enough bee chat. A bit of bee chat on the pod today. It's always good. Yeah, Conor Ben and Conah Walker is not going to happen. Sorry for anybody who thought it was going to happen. One thing that does interest me, though, Lewis Crocker and Liam Parrow, have they got a date rescheduled for that?
I haven't seen one.
I haven't seen anything either. I mean, I'd assume it's still happened because it's obviously the IBF and it's a mandatory. You know, Paddy Donovan's boxing Karen Chikedzian in an eliminator, I'm not sure, a final eliminator. So you could do the winner of that against Conah Walker, and then the winner of that fights the winner of Lewis Crocker against Liam Parrow. That kind of sounds like it works.
But it does work. But I think Donovan's not going to want that. But if I beat him, then that's my next shot for the world title.
I'm not sure if it's a final eliminator or an eliminator or. But also, what's he going to do if he's going to sit around like that? Fight is next weekend.
See, if Conah Walker, I tend to think I thought his style would get caught out at British level. You can't keep someone's going you got a great chin, but you can't keep chipping away at it. Someone's going to catch you with a shot, and the more you go up the level, those punches are real punches.
Yeah.
So.
There's Boots Ennis when he was a welterweight. Imagine him catching Conah Walker.
Yeah.
But maybe Conah Walker can take it. I mean, what I'm saying is, like, if he boxes at world level, Conah Walker, I find it difficult in my mind to think how fighting like that will bode well for him at the highest level. But then also, when he boxed Lewis Crocker, though Lewis Crocker's a better fighter than he was then, I thought he beat Lewis Crocker. It was very close, and I didn't argue with the result because it was what you liked. But I thought, Crocker was punching the heavier shots, and I thought Conah Walker was the busier fighter. And then it was an argument of quality over quantity and the punch power. And I said, well, is it a power punch if it's not having the effect? You're throwing power in it, but if it's not having the effect that you asked for, is it really a powerful punch? If it's bouncing off you.
Yeah, it's about the effect it has. That's what matters, isn't it? If you, when that's how I look at it. When you're looking to try and judge a round.
I threw every punch hard.
But yeah, it's interesting to see what happens. I mean, if Paddy Donovan beats Karen Chikedzian, which isn't a foregone conclusion, by the way. Karen Chikedzian's a good fighter. Watch his 2 fights with Boots Ennis. He's a good fighter. Then you could do Walker against Donovan. That's a good fight. You could do that in Belfast. You could do that in Wolverhampton. The Black Country Provodnikov. That's going to be his new nickname.
I'd like to see.
That's great. No, I love it.
I love to see you talk about next. If he stays around, if he wants to stay at super welter for a while or stay with super welter for good. Him and Fawaz for become a 2-weight British champion if he can. That'd be a good scrap.
Can't see him wanting to fight Bilal Fawaz though. If you're that close, because he's close now for a world title.
I don't think Conah Walker cares. I know you want to go. People say this will plot your route to whatever, but I think Conah Walker would just fight anyone for money. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, like get up the ring and go. Do you want to fight me for 30 quid outside? You go. Hang on a minute. Do my
I do feel like that. The way that he fights, though, that it will unravel at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
because history tells you that will happen. Like when I was saying earlier on, the temptation would be if you were boxing him, that surely the next one's going to make a dent. It reminded me of watching Joe Joyce against Joseph Parker. Parker kept absolutely belting him, thinking surely the next one. And Andy Lee, his trainer, who got a little bit of grief for leaving him in there too long. Some people thought, I didn't think so, because if you're watching that, you're thinking, yeah, surely the next one, this is heavyweight boxing. But then we saw what did happen to Joe eventually.
It was the next one, but it was
the next one. Yeah. It was the next one. And I don't think you can make it all the way doing that.
No. Right, okay, before we move on and just have a quick brief run through of the undercard, Do we think we see Sam Eggington in the ring again? Is that the end of Sam Eggington?
I think it is, yeah.
I don't think it will be.
I think
it should be, but I don't think it will be.
I think he is one of these people who, because he doesn't really say a lot, and he's got this very simple attitude of give me a decent fight and give me a decent match and I'll give you a really good fight. I think people underestimate possibly his shrewdness and his intelligence levels. I think he's always had a plan. The original plan when he turned over was to be an away corner fighter. But that kind of shows you quite a lot, doesn't it? That he looked at it very objectively. This is about money. And I think that is what it's always been. I genuinely think he loves fighting. Whether he loves training or not, I don't really know. He buckles down to it. He may well not. He stayed with the same people his whole career, hasn't he? You know, Barry Hearn was always good for him. You know, he was a very positive force as someone who championed him. But he's been with John Pegg all the way through. They know each other really well. I think he may well be one of these people who had a target, which of course they can be revised, but this is what I want to have achieved from boxing, and then I will stop. Whether it's pay off your house or pay off your house plus a bit more or whatever it is, and maybe he hasn't got there yet. But if he continues, it'll be because he hasn't quite got to that quite cold clinical target yet. That's what I think he's like, without really knowing him. That's what I think he's like. And if he's got there, as soon as he's got there, it'll be, all right, thanks for everything, see you later.
But this is what happens now. The phone rings and they go, you're brilliant the other week, thanks mate. Listen, do you know Boston is looking for the 12 round?
Of course,
there.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they go, 60 grand.
How much? Yeah, exactly.
You know, and you go, well, you know, he's a young kid and you looked vulnerable the other week, you look good now, and you take that fight.
I totally understand that. But I think he might surprise us on that front and be one of the rare ones who thinks to himself,
leaves a bit on the table.
No, that's it. I've won, I'm winning, I'm off.
I hope so.
Yeah, I really do too.
Yeah.
But you
he was brilliant in some parts of that fight, wasn't he?
I mean, it was always,
really
that was going to be the type of fight. It was always going to be a great fight, wasn't it? But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I would like
Conah Walker's a problem, isn't he? Oh.
Yeah, and he's kind of one of those fighters where he's like, it's almost like a little bit like Josh Warrington, where it's like each level he goes up, you think, okay, well, this might be, and he just does it again and just does it again, and who knows? Who knows? I think, barring
he's the welterweight Fabio Wardley, isn't he?
Yeah. But I mean, barring kind of Lewis Crocker, it's hard to sort of. I mean, to be fair, I'd love to see him fight Rolly Romero. That'd be a great fight.
Yeah.
Be a great fight. He punches really hard though, Romero. So like, it's one thing kind of walking forward against guys who are, with respect to Harry Scarf and Sam Eggington, not massive punches.
That's in that bracket of I would and I wouldn't want to see it, because I'd suspect that could be the one where, you know, the immovable object all of a sudden
gets moved.
Power,
Yeah, it's the kryptonite, isn't it? It's the kryptonite of a pressure fighter. It's against a guy who can really crack. I mean, we mentioned Josh Warrington when he boxed Mauricio Lara, who didn't really have much else other than crippling punch power. It's when you walk into a guy, and it's kind of it's the old kind of head-on collision, isn't it?
Yeah.
And power is one level. You think power should just be power, but it's not.
No.
So you think one level you can, like, I've never been on the floor my entire life, by the way, so I could obviously take a decent shot. Or avoided most of the shots, but I mean, you think you take a shot, and then when I went up to a real wall level puncher, and he was a massive puncher, of course,
for sure, yeah.
And then I'm shitting the bed, like you know what I mean? Like every time he hit me, I'm going, what's going on here? Like,
such a great phrase.
That's the thing as well.
It's mad, though, isn't it? You know, it is, though, isn't it? You think. I remember the first time I knocked me down the first time, it didn't even hurt me. I just went, and I wasn't even dazed, and I took the knee, I did everything, but I was looking. What happened there? I was on my ass. I didn't know what happened.
It's one of those things where you know, people kind of take the mick a bit when it's such a boxing cliche, isn't it? Levels, but it's just so. Yeah. It's true, and it's true of anything. But it is. It must be a mad experience that. Yeah, I got into a bit of that.
You get hit and you go like, you don't go down from. You go, because it hurts.
Yeah,
some of the adrenaline and some this just hurts. Like, it's not.
I'm
fun.
fascinated by stuff like that, whereby you find yourself in the eye of the storm, and all of a sudden it's kind of like, oh no, it's possible to hit this hard. It must be, God, it must be terrible.
One point, it snapped his head back, and he went. Really viciously went poof, and he went. Like a serial killer. He just smiled.
I mean, Lewis Crocker can punch. I'd say Lewis Crocker's got world-class punching power. I think he's a world-class puncher.
Yeah, you got power.
Maybe like outside like other areas of his game, maybe not world-class, but
His
I think he
record's
can punch.
weird, isn't it?
Like,
Because the amount of knockouts he has compared to what I've been ringside to a lot of his fights.
yeah.
Even the ones he won stopping kids, and every shot is like bam, bam. You know, you go.
Okay, right. Just going to quickly fly through the rest of the card. We mentioned his name. Bilal Fawaz become the first man to stop Ryan Kelly. Good performance, another good performance
really
from
not
Bilal
really
Fawaz, who's gone from get me a passport to get me a Rolex. You know, that's kind of that's
Yeah,
the career trajectory that I like.
Yeah, and
Keep your
why
passport,
not?
give me
And
the
why
Rolex.
not? You know, I saw a few people kind of criticise him for that. It's like, oh, the more I see him, the less I like him. What is he supposed to?
Yeah.
Because he's an immigrant, is he supposed to be humble and just want a passport? Or
And I'm also
why
quite
can't
sure,
he want a Rolex?
I'm also quite sure that it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
yeah, but even if it wasn't, you know, why not?
Anytime anybody tries to get any money out of her, I'm all for it. So we're all good on that regard. But yeah, good performance from Bilal Fawaz. And I think like he's another guy now that if you look at that 154 pound, I kind of feel like he needs just one in between fight, and then he's ready for anybody. I think. Like, really, look, does that mean that he's going to go out there and beat a Sebastian Fundora or go out and beat a Virgil Ortiz or a Boots Ennis or a Xander Sayers? Maybe not. Like we don't know. But you know, he's kind of I think he's ready now, isn't he, to move past that British level, get himself like a Euro. He's not around anymore, but a Sergio Garcia type European level, European champion guy, Bilal Fawaz. And then if he does well in that, then you know, there's only one place to
definitely
look.
be calling for a European title shot. No?
Yeah.
He's won the British title, Commonwealth title, defended it. No, impressive fashion, by the way, against Ryan Kelly, who's a good
Rapid
kid.
turnaround.
Yeah, that's good. It's nice and busy.
And he looks, his arms are massive.
Yeah,
Boaz.
but
Huge.
also for him, it's like we've spoke about it before. It's like that kind of balance between making up for lost time and not rushing things, not going too quickly, and you know, not kind of.
Yeah, but European level's not too quick. I mean, the European level, no, I don't think it's the same standard that it once was. So it's
I don't
not.
know who's got it at 154.
The British standard has risen. That's without being disrespectful. So I think so. You win a British title, you're practically there, aren't you? At European level.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a step at one, then see where you find it. But I don't
It still
think
can be in some weight divisions, can't it? At times, but it's variable now.
Yeah.
Milan Pratt has the super welterweight title. Of course, Abbas Barral, now former world champion, had it. Another opponent of Sam Eggington. But yeah, that should be, or you would think that's probably the logical next step for him. Just having a look at our bits and pieces here. Yeah, quick round up of the undercard. A return to form and a return to the win column for Junaid Bostan, who of course had those two fights against Bilal Fawaz.
Box well he did.
Yeah.
Actually.
Lots of life for him, and I think for him now, like, it's, you know, those two fights that he had with Bilal Fawaz, probably particularly the first fight, because I think the wider British boxing public were a little bit, you know, in the dark as to how good Bilal Fawaz was, and how good he'd been, and what
They
he
won't
could achieve.
age badly.
No, absolutely
results.
not. And he's, you know, he's a very precocious young man. He wants everything now, and he likes to get on with things as soon as possible. But I think, you know, the defeat and the draw and those performances at that stage of his career, and going on to see what Bilal Fawaz, he won't thank me for saying this, but what Bilal Fawaz has gone to done does reflect pretty well on him at that stage of his career.
Massively.
But yeah, good to see him back with a win. TMA Ayton, another explosive performance, stopping Stevie Levy. A lot to like about her. We've said before, you know, she could be that puncher, that kind of more that aggressive next generation of female boxers, really.
Actually as well, which
But
is
it's
good.
still with that nastiness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every shot, it looked like it. And Stevie Levy's very tough, very game, but yeah, just a little bit outgunned, or a lot outgunned, unfortunately, by Tia May Ayton. Right, up next, David Benavidez against Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez in Las Vegas this past weekend. Andy, going to come to you first. I think we all, in various different stages of our prediction, expected a competitive fight, a good fight, that, you know, Benavidez up at the weight, 25 pounds on, against a unified champion in Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. We expected a tough fight, that Benavidez might have to show us something. What he did show us was a fantastic performance, absolutely scythed down Gilberto, there we go. Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez inside 6 rounds in emphatic fashion. What a performance!
Yeah, it was kind of adrenaline charged, adrenaline soaked sort of stuff to watch. It must have been brilliant to be there live, because we say this often, don't we, about these big fights. What you want is either a classic, obviously that's what we all want, a back and forth, or you want an outstanding performance from one of the two, and that's what we got. It was something to see, and Ramirez is a really good fighter. I picked him to win that fight. I got 1 out of 3 on the weekend, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. You know, because if someone who maybe doesn't know what he's talking about gets 1 out of 3, then it shows we're following a proper sport, not a boring, predictable sport where you know what's going to happen. But the manner of the victory from Benavidez was just, it was absolutely brutal, because Ramirez maybe, well, he did kind of stand with him, but he just got annihilated. And there's no other way to describe it. And the way it finished, where he was beaten down to a knee, and you could see him kind of dabbing at the eye, whatever that was about, I'm not sure, and giving that barely kind of perceptible shake of the head to the referee as he's counting in front of him. That is when you have really taken someone apart. When you reduce a really good fighter to that, and all the questions about could he move up in weight and carry the attributes up and all that kind of thing, the answer was just an emphatic yes. It was something to see. I mean, it really was. I mean, what was it like in the arena watching that?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. It was a great night of boxing. I thought the card was excellent.
Oh God, it was great.
I thought I was there early because I had to get there and see the 4s and the 6s. And it was great. People got in there nice and early. The reception, it was a lot of Mexican versus Mexican fights on the card. You had Jaime Munguia against Armando Resendiz. Munguia is still really, really popular. Resendiz was really popular as well. I was really surprised at how many, Toro, his nickname, T-shirts I saw around, and there was a lot. Canelo Alvarez got booed out of the building a couple of times, which
that was harsh, man.
I get it.
It's
a Benavidez
show.
I know.
Benavidez got bigger cheer than Munguia, didn't he? I think.
I don't know. There wasn't much in it. They both got a lot of support behind them. Then you had the Oscar Duarte fight against Fierro, which I thought he might have been a little bit fortunate to get. I did think it was the kind of fight that could have gone either way, but the fans were absolutely furious with that fight. They booed poor old Oscar Duarte out of the building, which you can't. I felt really bad for because it's not his fault. He doesn't judge the fight. No. It was a close fight in itself. He kind of mentioned it in his post-fight interview. I made the weight for this fight. This guy didn't make the weight. Like, he kind of said, well, I should have won because I made it. That's not quite how it works. But anyway, he doesn't judge the fight. And I thought it was a close fight that could have gone either way. And the way that the fans reacted was, I mean, you can think about him. He's like fighting on Cinco de Mayo weekend. It's a big Mexican occasion, fan. He must have been fucking absolutely devastated with that. But then Benavidez, I mean, to be honest, I have to kind of cede to our American counterparts in a sense of there was a few that I spoke to, Sean Zattel being one of them, who I think is great at his job, by the way, one of the very best, if not the best guys out there in America, with certainly on the digital side of things. Quite a few people said to me, listen, David Benavidez is going to go through this guy. And I was kind of like, nah, but I think this. And they were like, no. He's going to go through this guy. And he absolutely did. But yeah, as far as the atmosphere on the night, look, it wasn't full. By far and away, not full. It's not, it's David Benavidez is, I think his next one will be full. But he's not Canelo Alvarez. He's not Floyd Mayweather. He's not, the place wasn't packed out. But the fans that were in there were a proper Mexican audience. If you got on the back foot for 30 seconds, as Fierro found out against Oscar Duarte, the boos are coming in immediately. And they want toe-to-toe action. They want guys to stand there and trade and have it.
I love that lack of patience.
I mean, it was literally the first round, just immediately like that.
I like that in Phoenix, isn't it? They booed their own. They booed the whole fight, won't they?
I need to go back and just quickly check because I don't want to get the guy's name wrong. But in the first fight of the pay-per-view cards, Isaac Lucero, who I actually watched years ago, sparred Devin Haney in Vegas in the City Gym. And I thought he was really good. He was really good young talent. He boxed a guy called Ismael Flores from Argentina. Ismael Flores punched him around the ring for the whole fight and won a very, very clear, deserved, unanimous decision from Argentina. He's one to watch. He was very good. Was brought in, obviously, as the B-side, the opponent, with respect to him, and he looked fantastic in that fight. But yeah, back to the main event, Barry. Benavidez was awesome, and when people say awesome all the time, but that quite literally was awesome, awe-inspiring. Now, one thing that we speak about, and you've kind of made one of your catchphrases recently, that injection of pace, carrying that up to cruiserweight. I mean, it's kind of, the fourth round was the first knockdown, but the first 3 rounds, there was just those snippets of maybe 15 seconds in each one of those 3 rounds where he went, and he let the shots go, and you could see that was the difference. He went up here and Zurdo just couldn't go with him.
The difference in him doing it to others, so you've seen well, Fuaz do it. But he did it for too long, and his was a means to an end. But if Benavidez does it to open you up, to get you to throw back, he's blistering hands to push you back, to make you flustered, but you know something big's coming. Just the different mindset of what he's doing and how he's setting it up. Then we go negative first. Ramirez, I thought it was going to be a distance fight because I thought Ramirez is really good at fighting back under pressure, and he never, at all. I mean, he's literally volunteered the ring. He was always, as a cruiserweight, he's been pushing people back a bit more. Rather, he's good on his feet, quite bouncy on his feet. But as a cruiserweight, because he put all that weight on, he's like pushing you back and looks a bit stronger. But he still could fire back and he had fast hands, and he just didn't. He was so wary of what was coming back. He knew he couldn't match Benavidez's engine. Was a little bit tentative. I don't want to say afraid, but a bit tentative to not getting caught with a clean shot. He just clammed up, really. But Benavidez, I mean, he's one of. He's like, I know Canelo's like 5'2", but when he gets in the ring, his shadow's 7'7". I think he has that aura about him. He's big anyway, but he was bigger. Like him and Ramirez in the build up. Ramirez like that. Yeah, it's like me. It's like me versus anybody. And he was like that, massive, wasn't he? And then, but come fight night, all of a sudden he's shrinking because Benavidez, because he's just.
It's like presence.
Yeah, he's got it. He doesn't look. He's not a pretty fighter, which sometimes you tend to not overlook his technical ability. And he's not. He does square his feet up and all that, but when he throws punches, he's technically perfect. When he throws punches, Benavidez. I know the flurried stuff, but I mean the actual when he's throwing punches with meat on him, he turns his body with every punch. That's why he can get leverage on those short shots and leverage on the long shots. So he's throwing uppercuts like he's throwing them from far away because he turns his body right into it, gives himself the space and the gap to throw. I mean, for a big fella to do that in any situation, but in a high pressure situation with all of that calmness, but still keeping that high energy and throwing millions of punches, is madness. Like, how he can do it. He's technically so good. That's overlooked. He's this monster and he's busy and he's heavy-handed and all those things are true. But his technical ability that he has and the turning on shots defensively at times when he's in close, where he's switching, he's always moving his shoulders. I mean, he's such a good fighter, more than what we just really see. If you're watching for enjoyment, you're just seeing a guy wear you out and outwork you and beat you up and stop you. But if you actually look at him a bit more, the little things that he's doing around all that are just like magical.
Yeah, there was a slowed down, a few slowed down clips that have been making their way around social media of him rolling with the shots and counter into the body and to the head. And I saw some people say it's very James Toney-esque. Tony's much different in a sense of he's smoother, but
prettier. That's all.
That's literally it. I think we spoke about this on the pod either last week or we've definitely done it recently. Where like in order to be a great boxer, you have to be a Pernell Whitaker on the back foot and slippery and whereas it's not always that. Like Emmanuel Navarrete. Good example of a great boxer, but he doesn't look pretty on the eye.
Jerky, isn't he?
And you have to kind of slow it down and really look at what he's doing to really appreciate it. And I thought with Benavidez, we saw that against Ramirez. He's standing there in the pocket, he's making him miss, he's rolling at the shoulder and he's coming back with shots and then he's slipping again. And when it's all slowed down, and I think that the most impressive thing for me was we know he's got those the fast hands and the fast twitch fibers definitely carried up, but the weight behind those shots to be able to throw so quickly and they've all got power on them. You see the state of Zurdo Ramirez's face. Yeah, teeth gone, his eye. By all accounts, Lance Pugmire was reported that he doesn't have any breaks or anything in his face, which is great news. And you never want to see somebody really badly hurt. But you could see in those first 3 rounds when Benavidez just injected that pace. And you could see like the shock on Ramirez's face when he got hit by them. It really was something. And when he had him over in the 4th, don't get me wrong, I felt like he put a lot into those flurries in particular, Benavidez. And the 5th round, he was a little bit more probably lower intensity than I thought he'd be. After the 4th round, I thought he was just going to jump on him and then just get him out of there, and that was what he was going to do.
He doesn't need to though, does he?
But again, that shows the experience of him. This is a guy who was sparring a prime Gennady Golovkin when he was a teenager. He was sparring Kelly Pavlik when he was 15, and
he learned like. The reason why he doesn't have to, And you feel it when he's so calm in the fire. So when things are coming back, he has the calmness. When you're calm, you see more. When you lose your temper, like with an argument, or you know at home or whatever, you don't think straight, do you? And you say things you shouldn't say, or you react in a bad manner. You usually make all your mistakes in life when you're in a mood, when you lose your rag. So if you can stay calm in a fight, like he does, you see everything. But to do that in a war, when you put yourself right in the belly of the fire, is difficult, because you should be anxious about punches coming your way, because they can knock you out. But if you can stay calm, it's easy to say it. If you can only great fighters can do it, I think, in high pressure situations. Stay calm, then you see everything coming your way, and you can slip and dip and roll. That I can do that, and like things I could do in sparring against kids who are lower level. I say lower, not shorter. That's nobody. I mean lower level. We all look like brilliant fighters. We all look like penalty or wherever we want to be at that. I can look like a Mike Tyson against a certain level. I mean, even me, and I can look like De La Hoya, and I can look anyone I want to against a certain people. When you find your level or above, then you just look shit. No, unless you're brilliant, and he is, but he doesn't look it because his body's not. It doesn't look like he doesn't look like an athlete. He squares his feet up a little bit, so that you tend to think, he's not technically that good. But the way all that twist in his body, and the way he turns into the shots and keeps the speed and the accuracy, and he can think and he can see and he can react while he's being aggressive. I mean, that's a lot to take on. That is.
Yeah.
Certainly as a cruiserweight, where they're more athletic than heavyweights, but they're still big guys who really power is still always quite often the biggest factor. But then when you got a guy with enough power to hurt you and push you back, and that engine, and that brain, and that calmness, I mean, you're talking all of a sudden now Opetaia is the best cruiserweight, and he's brilliant. But is he the best cruiserweight now? Yeah. No, you got him in the mix.
I mean, it was a performance that for me, covering David Benavidez's career, when he was at super middleweight, he fought a lot of guys. Not his fault. Fought a lot of guys who moved up from middleweight, and didn't always he didn't get the big fights that he was looking for. He looked
like a weight bully, didn't he?
Yeah, and even at light heavyweight, he boxed Alexander Vosdik. You say, well, Vosdik been out in the ring for a while, probably seen better days. Then he boxed David Morrell. Well, Morrell only had a handful of fights, and gave him problems. Anthony Yard. Well, always. This was for me, and this again, we speak about this all the time, where I guess the higher the caliber of the opponent, the more of the fine-tooth comb you get out when you're assessing.
Ramirez has looked the best he's looked at the cruiserweight.
Yeah, and that's it.
Any other weights he's been
and that's
at.
it. Yeah,
some people start saying he moved up in weight.
Yeah, he has. But this was, and with that in mind, this was one of those performances where you go, Phew. Like you can't say anything about Ramirez. You can't say anything that it was the best version of Ramirez that we'd seen up to the point. You take him for what you've seen up to that point, the information that you have, and he just absolutely destroyed him. I mean,
it's incredible to watch, isn't
it?
The
build up to the fight. I spoke to him on Wednesday, and he'd said about I've hurt this guy in sparring, and you think that they'd done apparently 200 rounds in the gym together. And I think it was Tim Bradley or somebody like that who was saying, look, when you've done that many rounds with a guy in the gym, and they know, and the weight, and there's been times. And I remember thinking at the time, but that's a long time ago. And Ramirez is, his best version of himself now at cruiserweight, and they've come through the weights. It's his first fight, and it's 25 pounds. Benavidez, throughout the whole week, had that aura of a guy of, look, I know I'm going to smash this guy to pieces. And he's always got that kind of bad boy attitude anyway. But you kind of felt like he just knew.
His brain, it's not just that. He's thinking, I know, and so does he.
And to be honest, that's kind of how Zurdo Ramirez boxed. He kind of boxed like, I know what's coming here, and I'm not really looking for it. And I don't think I agree with. I don't think it was Zurdo's best performance. I think far from it. I think he
didn't fight back, did he?
But he went out there and he stood in there and tried to trade with David Benavidez. I mean, I think if anybody does that with David Benavidez, you're going to have a big problem. You've seen probably the fight that he had the most difficulty in Benavidez was Caleb Plant, when Plant was boxing and moving and kind of doing what Caleb Plant does. But maybe what that's about is that mental side of it, where he went into the ring feeling like he did know and just thought to himself, 12 hard rounds with this guy, I can't win that fight. I'm just going to have to... Maybe he just went in there a bit scrambled. I mean, you think it doesn't happen to people at that level, but it does. Because...
More so than any other
level. Yeah, more so than any other level, possibly, because it's... it's so demanding, and it demands so much of somebody to remain confident and clear-headed. And if they've got any kind of seed of doubt, and it's based on real life, not just the kind of insecurities that any human has, and that body of sparring is real life, then that's a very, very difficult thing, I'd imagine, to cope with. And it is incredible, boxing as a sport, because what we saw on Saturday is one of the reasons why it sets itself apart from other sports, because to see someone that good in Ramirez have that done to him, and to witness it, and you see an absolutely superb fighter, but just an exceptional human. If you talk about his physical capabilities and what percentage of people can do things like that and drive themselves to the levels they need to achieve that success, and the self-analysis and the sacrifice and the toughness and all of these things. There's so many things, and then to see that happen to him. I mean, we talk about the brutality of the sport, and the damage he sustained was brutal. But for me, it's more the fact that he ends it on a knee, just shaking his head at the ref like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I had the will.
I can't do
this.
He did. He was broken. You know, it's wild. I mean, it's a wild scene.
Having no answer in a fight, because I've been there. Having no answer in a fight is quite hard to understand when.
How do you come back from that?
Well, I did.
No, but I mean, for Ramirez, how do you come back from that?
Yeah,
because you can tell yourself, okay, but he's like, you know, a generational guy. But I don't think that works, because you want to be a generational guy, and he probably felt like he was one or could be one, and then all of a sudden you're hit by a bus.
I mean, he was talking before the fight about maybe only having 1 or 2 fights left. I didn't put that much stock into that, because he was kind of saying not similar stuff, but it's like, he's not like a chest out Mexican, very, you know, or like he's quite a quiet, sort of humble-ish guy, Zurdo Ramirez. But you'd think now, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but like going back to thinking about him saying maybe he has 1 or 2 fights left and the manner of the defeat there, I'd be surprised if we see Zurdo Ramirez again. I'm not sure we'll see him again.
I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't.
Good luck to him, by the way. He's had a great career.
He has.
He's lost to what looks like he's a phenomenal fighter.
Lost to 2 great fighters.
Might be a great fighter. He tried against. He got a boxing against Bivol. I was there in Abu Dhabi, wasn't it? And it's no shame. He had a good career in all. But it's your biggest fight. You couldn't put your best performance on. But he didn't do what he did best. But also that movement at cruiserweight, he hadn't quite had that because he's put on the bulk. I think discipline's been a problem for him. And I think it's something to do with diets with Ramirez, I think.
Yeah, he's quite fleshy, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think going up to cruiserweights probably helped him, because he could eat and feel stronger, but then that took away his movement. But I still think he's looked a better fighter, because he's still been high energy, hasn't he? Because having a bit of fat on you is not a bad thing.
Thank you.
For energy. A bit of fat, I said. not just be a fat. More fat than anything else. No, it is. You see a lot of great fighters. But Kazaki, hey. We mentioned Bama Kazaki. He was never cut to pieces. Look at the engine he had. Yeah. You can't have to pick a guy with a better engine. Benavidez, another one. Yeah, having a little bits of fat to burn up when you are like using loads of energy. But it was a standard performance, and in your biggest fight, you won your best performance, and it was. And he's chasing people.
I think
that's why everyone loves him. He's chasing people down.
Yeah,
like, I'll fight you. Well, wait, I don't care what weight. I'll fight you.
It comes in nicely to kind of the next segment I want to talk about with Benavidez and Zurdo, in a sense of, he's now made that Cinco de Mayo date his own. There is nobody else who can really, I don't think, push him off that date. Who can push him off that date realistically? He, for me, is now the biggest star in American boxing. Who's a bigger star than him in America?
Canelo. Still,
I don't know. Like, could he? But
I don't know.
But for me, I don't know, bigger global star maybe, but what Canelo fight is going to move the needle now for him? He's boxing Christian and Billy, which is a really good fight, but is that going to be a fight that that's going to happen in Saudi Arabia, by the way? So that September date in the US, like Benavidez has already said, I'd love to fight Dimitri Bivol on that date, or I'd love to do whatever on that date, but keep those Mexican dates to him. For me, that would have only been this is only a conversation we could have really had with that type of performance.
And he's the fighter with the style that they want to see.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely. Yeah,
who doesn't
he's
want
as
to
North
see?
American. I know he's Mexican, but in terms of the appeal, he's absolutely.
I mean, that's a style.
He's what we all want, but particularly there.
Yeah, it translates into any market. You know, a big, massive guy who talks shit and beats people up. You know, that is what you want, really, isn't it? I mean, you don't get anything other than that. I mean, Gervonta Davis may have something to say about the biggest star in America, but until he comes back and whatever, like we don't really know. But that Mexican audience, there was a lot of talk before the fight. You know, comparisons to him and Oscar De La Hoya and De La Hoya against Chavez. You know, is he a real Mexican? You know, is he a Mexican or a Mexican American? Yeah. And that does mean something. Like Chavez said before the fight, look, I'll be honest, you know, in Mexico, people don't know David Benavidez. They might know him now after that performance. And, you know, there's
enough Mexicans in America, though, isn't it?
But it's also, you know, you still want that, you know, you want that kind of, I guess, the support from the root, right? In Mexico. So, I mean, obviously, he's Mexican, he's Ecuadorian, he's based in America, all of that stuff. But, I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to make amidst the rambling and the Red Bull is his kind of performance over Zurdo Ramirez in May, and the fact that like he's now calling out. I mean, kind of a bit pointless at this point, but afterwards he was saying, you know, who wants to see David Benavidez against Canelo Alvarez? Probably you and Oscar De La Hoya, mate. Nobody else wants to see that fight. Like,
that's not happening.
Realistically, look, when Benavidez and Canelo were at 168, and Canelo had all the belts, and Benavidez had an interim title, and he was the mandatory for however long. That fight not happening then, that's terrible. And, you know, Canelo deserved the stick for not having that fight. You're a champion at the weight class. He's knocking the door down. He's clearly the number one contender, and you don't want to fight him for whatever reason. Don't talk about what he brings to the table when you're going to go and fight Billy Skull in the middle of Saudi Arabia or whatever, you know? Yeah. So, like, but then when he moves to light heavyweight Benavidez, that dilutes it a bit more because Canelo's boxed twice at light heavyweight, got soundly beaten once and struggled with Sergey Kovalev in the other one. So he's not really light heavyweight, but, you know, you can say, but he won a title there, so we could still see that fight. Now David Benavidez is up at cruiserweight, filling people inside 6 rounds. How can you realistically say, Canelo, man, go fight that guy? You'd have to be absolutely insane if you're Canelo to do that.
Where's his next big fight for September then?
Well, then you've got after the fight he was talking about.
Even though he might be the star, he needs he still needs dance partners.
For sure. I mean, this is kind of. I mean, I think there's a lot of options for him.
There's one name, but that's never going to happen, is it?
There's Bivol. Bivol would bring. He's known to the Mexican audience. He's the guy who dominated Canelo Alvarez on Cinco de Mayo. I think.
Where would that be weight wise?
It'd have to be. Well, he says that he can.
Bivol's not really a big light heavyweight, though, is he?
Benavidez has said that. I mean, he was 196, which I was pleased to see him not bursting at the seams at 200 pounds because I thought he needed to keep that speed and whatever else. And there's no point. And he said that, you know, people are already talking about, and we'll come on to it, him fighting Alexander Usyk or moving to heavyweight. But he said, look, I want to be a long reigning light heavyweight champion. He's like, just like Sergey Kovalev was when Kovalev had the belts and he was beating contender after contender. He was the guy at light heavyweight. I want to be able to do that. So he said that he can now, at this stage of his career, he can do light heavyweight or he can do cruiserweight. Now, wherever the big fights are, he's happy to do it.
I think that's tough, man. Like, that is such a big difference if you're going to kind of like do that.
Yeah, it's the biggest weight gap in boxing. But he says he can do it. He was 196.
Make a choice, though. If his next fight's cruiser, then that's his home.
You would think so.
I don't want to see him move back to light heavyweight. He says he can do it, but he doesn't know. Because he doesn't know, does he?
But I mean, the thing that he would know is, I mean, he would have been, you know,
walking wrong weights, and then he might walk around 20 pounds.
He's probably walking around at 210.
So literally, he might have for this fight. He's probably just changing the weight he's boxed at. He walks around that. Which is a rarity.
And when he's making 175, he's probably putting 20 pound on after the weigh-in anyway. So he's kind of gone like, I don't know how heavy he was in the ring. I think he said he was 202 or something, or he said that he didn't put much weight on afterwards, which wasn't a surprise, and I think it was good. It certainly helped his performance to keep that speed. But for me, I would like to see him, and this is obviously open to everybody else because I've done all of the talking on this bit. I'd like to see him box at cruiserweight, and I would like to see the Artur Beterbiev fight at cruiserweight. I would love that fight. I don't think Bivol's moving up to cruiserweight.
No, it's too poor.
And I don't want to see Benavidez go back down to light heavyweight, despite him saying that. After that performance at cruiserweight, stay at cruiserweight, man. Why do you need to come down in weight? So for me, at cruiserweight, and we'll come on to talk about it as well, Jai Opetaia's there. The Zuffa boxing stuff, he said afterwards, look, I can fight Jai Opetaia, I'm really interested, but I'm not fighting for a Zuffa belt, so he has to come over here if we want to do it.
I'm sure he would fight for a Zuffa belt so long as he could fight for others as well.
It would depend. It depends, who knows. If the price is right, he'll fight for a Gucci belt. I don't know
that's got
about
to be on a Zuffa show, though, hasn't it?
Well, these are the things.
I think
Zuffa
will say, don't fight for our belt then. I think they will. Right now they will. To get a big fight like that on their platform, I think they would go.
Yeah, I think they have to.
They would go, yeah, with whatever belt you want. We have the fight on our platform. We won't advertise the WBC belt too much, but you can have it on there. We won't advertise our Zuffa belt, but we'll have the fight on our platform. But it's got to be on ours. They won't let their fighter box on others. I can't see that.
Well, this is the thing, and it's the same conversation as we just had about Ryan Garcia against Conor Ben, and we've been having on the show for a good few weeks now. Of like, okay, well, what does this actually look like when it comes down to it? Because basically it's just become, for all of the best will in the world and whatever Zuffa's mid to long term ambitions are in the sport to kind of make it uniformed and under one banner, all it's done is make things even more fractured, at the minute, because we're in that sort of stage. So how it works out is going to be really interesting. But Benavidez didn't seem to think that an Opetaia fight could happen because of the Zuffa obstacles.
Yeah, I mean, they might have something to say about that. I mean, I'm sure they probably will, but it's your long-term goal can stay the same. But if you're smart, then how you get there might need to be tweaked. And these are smart people.
I was also at David Benavidez's fight with David Morrell, and he said, I want to stay in America. I want to headline pay-per-views here. We don't have to go to Saudi. And then he boxed Anthony Yarde in Saudi in his next fight. So these things are always open to suggestion. Yeah. And if they say
everything's subject to change.
Yeah, come to fight.
It's a suggestion. It's just it means the money.
The money's there. Yeah, and if David Benavidez is going to get paid, I don't know, 2 or 3 times his highest ever payday to go and fight on a Zuffa show in wherever, or if it's a ring card, he boxed Anthony Yarde on a Ring magazine card. It doesn't have to be a Zuffa show. You could do Jai Opetaia against David Benavidez for the ring belt, and the Zuffa one just on the side.
Yeah, exactly. There's different flavours, aren't there?
Is that the fight? Which one do we want to see?
Yeah, no, I do want to see that one. Yeah, we're better Biev. Like you threw that in there as well, didn't you? He's not big enough to fight a cruiserweight.
You don't think?
He's been a light heavyweight his whole life, hasn't he? Basically.
But when he was in the amateurs, he kind of fought in between, though, didn't he? Like,
yeah, no, that's true.
And he's been bursting at the seams.
But just kind of like he's someone who like I've sort of like seen physically and stood next to and been at close quarters with, like more than most kind of really top level fighters. And what's always kind of struck me about him is that he's just not very big. Actually, you touch him and it's like he's made of stone.
Yeah.
But he's actually just not very big.
Why did you touch him?
He asked me to.
What about you, Barry? Kind of ignoring all of the politics.
Opetaia for me.
That's the fight.
Yeah, because Opetaia has been seen by us all as the best cruiserweight for a while. I don't think he's this monster that we've portrayed. We've gone through that before, but he's technically a good boxer. And Benavidez now has shown he's the only one that can rival him. Because Ramirez, even though we all thought Opetaia was number one in cruiserweight, I presume we all thought that, Ramirez had the best resume out of all the cruiserweights. That was clear.
Definitely.
Yeah, and now he's just being blown out of the water comfortably by Benavidez. So I think it's a struggle for Opetaia to say he's the best, because on paper, I'm not blaming anybody, but on paper, Bradis, to win the title, was a fantastic win. Bradis was still good then, but not the peak
still
Bradis.
Not the best Bradis.
But he was still good Bradis. The second Bradis, when he boxed Bradis the second time, Bradis was not as good, but he still struggled with Bradis. And his other wins have been underwhelming because they haven't been at the level that he's at. That's the truth of it for Opetaia. And maybe he couldn't get fights. I don't know the reason why, but that's just the bottom line. Where Ramirez had boxed some good fighters, really good fighters, much better than Opetaia's. So there's an argument there. Maybe you have to say Benavidez is the best cruiserweight in the world now. So you have to settle that score. Forget about the belts. I'm not interested in that. To see them two box each other, no. And Benavidez stay a cruiserweight.
So we'd rather see Benavidez versus Opetaia than Benavidez to come down to 175 and box Dimitri.
Well, I wouldn't say I'd rather it. I just,
which one do you want?
What's that?
I mean, assuming that he can get back down to light heavy and be what he has been, I prefer that one, actually, to fight Bivol.
Barry?
I still want to see Opetaia now, after seeing that. to be honest.
It's a close run thing, though. I mean, they both be absolutely
Which
fantastic.
scoop of wonderful do you want? You know?
Yeah.
This cake or this cake?
Yeah. I'll take both.
See that?
That's his philosophy.
How do those fights go?
That's the Tebbutt way.
Oh, come on, who knows? That takes a
First
lot
one,
of...
Andy, going to come to you. Benavidez versus Opetaia. Who are you picking?
On the basis of recent evidence, I would pick Benavidez.
Barry.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I would. I don't know. I would. Opetaia can box, see? In and out, tough as well. He won't, as my term, shit the bed either when he gets caught. He'll fire back, he will. I think he's tough. Well, we've seen how tough he is. But I do think Benavidez, yeah.
I think Benavidez will get to him late. We've seen Opetaia, as the rounds go on, does slow down a little bit. Those two Bradis fights, which are by far and away his best opponent, and not a prime version of him. The first fight in particular, for the last 3 or 4 rounds, no, it was a while ago now, it was really, really hanging on in that fight. There's a difference between seeing a fight out and hanging on. And then the second fight, again, Bradis had some big success at the end of the 11th and the 12th round. So I think Benavidez would get to him in the second half of the fight.
But I think, like I thought Ramirez would, I think he'll get what he's not used to in someone fighting back but after you just throw or while you're throwing, you'll get that more. But then I said that against Ramirez, so yeah.
Okay, and then Barry, you're Andy. Anyway, hello Andy. David Benavidez.
Keep going, Rob. You're doing well.
so difficult. David Benavidez against Dimitri Bivol at £175.
Well, I would still fancy Bivol because he's shown us absolutely everything you could possibly want of somebody at that weight. And I just have a hard time believing that even when you've gone up to cruiser once, and I understand absolutely what you're saying about walking around weight and training it, he's basically just stayed at the weight that he trains at. Yeah. I get that. I can't understand it as well as a fighter would understand it. But I still have a hard time believing that coming back down to light heavy won't be hard. And make him slightly less than he would have been at 175 had he not done it. Yeah. And against someone like Bivol, you need to be firing on every single cylinder. Every synapse needs to be, ready to go. And I don't think he will be quite, and that's why he won't win.
Barry?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. See, that bounce, is that amateur bounce that Bivol has. It's very hard for a volume puncher to tee off with because they're not set for you to let your hands go. And then the spin off as well makes it hard. But the hand speed of Benavidez could catch you in the mists. So it's hard to pick, that is. I'll go Benavidez because I don't think Bivol is ever going to be injury free anymore. I just think age, this time of his life, timing might not be right for him. I think a peak Bivol would probably have the edge over Benavidez because of that patience and technical brilliance of happy just to do enough and force you to maybe make mistakes, and that bounce and that rhythm that he gets it from. But I don't know whether that would be as sharp as it once was, so I would go Benavidez.
Yeah, he's had 24 incredibly intense rounds against Beterbiev.
And injuries starting to happen,
in like 4 months, wasn't it, in the end?
And also, if you what you've said, that's kind of like the best bits of the Caleb Plant performance.
Yeah.
Like to translate. But I'd go with Benavidez. I don't know if it's just recency bias or just being there at the weekend. It's just...
It's probably a bit of all of it. I'm saying with me, but you can easily forget how effective, not just how effective people are, because you haven't seen them box for 12 months. And in this era, you don't see someone for 6 months because we're so busy that we forget they even did box.
Right, okay, we've got not a very long time to talk about this final piece on David Benavidez. There's been some talk about him moving up to heavyweight to box Alexander Usyk. Now, what do we think of that? Now, David Benavidez has said himself, I'd see myself going up to heavyweight. I would love to fight Alexander Usyk, blah, 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 blah. Is that just a pipe dream? Is that something that we, do we want to see that? Or what's the room check temperature on temperature, whatever, on Benavidez versus Alexander Usyk?
When I saw it proffered or mooted, whatever the right word is, I thought it was a bit mad because my brain immediately went to, but he started at super middleweight. And somebody would say, but Usyk boxing the amateurs at middleweight, but that was a long time ago. By the time he finished the amateurs in WSB, he was at super heavyweight. So let's just park that one. But on the night, he would probably be 20 pounds lighter than Usyk, who we know comes in at a very regulation kind of 220, 222, 223. You know, that's where he's been for his last few, and it's very difficult to see him going much above that. So how big a difference is that when you consider some of the differences in weight we've seen between people, for example, Usyk and Fury, when they've boxed? So when I think about it, it's maybe not quite as mad as I first thought, but I think there's other things I would rather see him do. But the biggest bag will be for fighting Usyk, so you couldn't say that it won't happen.
Barry?
Yeah, I don't give him much chance, to be honest.
No, and that's the other thing. I don't think he would have much chance.
Whether it can happen, of course, in this era, about what fantasy is new reality, isn't it? All the fights can happen, but I don't see him having loads of success.
No, I don't want to see it.
Can they go, oh, well, Usyk was a cruiserweight, but that's a long time. I mean, he's not a massive heavyweight, but he's massively bigger than he was as a cruiserweight.
And also, he was a big cruiserweight.
He was. But when you see him, though, in the flesh that we all have, you go, oh, he's big. He's not like a small heavyweight anymore. He's big, isn't he? And he's maintained that energy, and his control of himself is still brilliant. So he doesn't make the mistakes. He won't have the same. He'll have to adapt his thinking, because he's up against a guy who has a faster boxing brain than all these heavyweights. Right now, he's doing what he wants to do, because they're all it's fair about their hand speed and foot speed. Their brain's not as quick as his, so he can just make him look and make him tire him up by just thinking where he is. Benavidez won't have that, but you have a guy who's not as busy as him, but just busy enough, technically very good. Southpaw, it's too big a jump, that is. You never know with anything in this sport, but it's too big a jump.
Benavidez was saying before the fight that, he wants to. It could happen in 5 years' time. He wants to stay at cruiser. He wants to do the light heavyweight thing.
It was going to be
Usyk
gone.
long gone. But then after
he
the
better
fight,
be gone.
After the fight, you see they're talking about Turkey saying he wants to see it in 2027, so only a year's time. So again,
but you'd be keen if you're Usyk, though, wouldn't you? Because he's talked repeatedly about 3 more fights. He's having one in a few weeks, which is a gimme.
It's nice life on his own, so we're 50-50.
You know, you look at the career he's had, and the one argument is, I know we're not here to talk about that this week. The one argument is that, if anybody's earned one of these, then it's him. But the other argument would be, but wouldn't it be great if he was just that guy who didn't do one of these? Yeah. But anyway, he is, and he's obviously going to win. I don't see any other possible outcome. And then he's got 2 more. And he might have been scratching his head a bit, just thinking, who against? Because he's not interested in fighting a Talma. He's not scared of a Talma, but he's not interested in it. He's made that very clear. Benavidez, courtesy of Turki Al-Sheikh suggesting it, popping up, he might think to himself, all right, yeah, that works for me. Because
Cinco de Mayo, big American fight.
Yeah, that would definitely work for him, wouldn't it? If you're Team Usyk, I think you'll be looking at that and just thinking, yeah, let's try and get behind that if we can, because it'll be a big one, loaded in my favour. And then I've just got to think of one more, and then I'm done.
Up next, we are going to discuss this weekend's WBO heavyweight title bout between Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois. But before we do that, I was in camp with Fabio Wardley just a few weeks ago, checking in on his preparations. Here's what I found.
We look at the list, we look at the options. Daniel Dubois.
We've prepared for Dubois before.
Like I said, this camp, we've already hit better numbers than we've done for the Park and the Huni camp already.
It's a shootout. Proper shootout. Like a Western.
Fabio Wardley!
As someone that prides themselves on challenging anyone, taking on anyone, not ducking no one, will take on the biggest and best challenge out there. We look at the list, we look at the options. Who's the best scalp? Who am I going to get the most credit for? Who am I getting the most recognition for? Daniel Dubois.
He's very professional in his preparation, as always. That's what's allowed him to do the things that he's doing. That's why he's heavyweight champion of the world. Yeah, nothing's changed, which is great, Sometimes fighters, they can win titles and all of a sudden want to do this, want to do that. He's remained the same, professional as ever, and focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, Fabio's inspiring, man. Look, to see what he's done, coming from where he came from to becoming world champion. Always being that explosive type of fighter, as you know, but his IQ has improved over time. I'm rooting for Fabio, that's us. Obviously, I know the boy's gonna come game, they're gonna throw hands, and we're gonna see who wins. May the best man win.
People are making comparisons between how big of punchers we are and our power and things like that. That's going to be a factor in this fight as well, with kind of who lands first and who lands clean. And then once that happens, who takes the shot better? Who's more resilient to it? Who's more geared up for it? Who does it rile up? Like, they're all going to be bouncing factors within this fight, and I think that will play a part as well.
We've prepared for Dubois before, so we're aware of tendencies and things like that. However, the fighter that we're working with is a different fighter, so he'll have different strengths, different weaknesses, so there'll be adjustments to the approach. There's some things that aren't going to change from Dubois, his reactions in certain situations, scenarios, but the fighter that we're working with is different, so our approach to certain situations, some might be the same, some might be different.
I sparred with Daniel a lot in the very, very, very early stages of me turning professional. I'd barely been professional a year, I think. Yeah, them sessions were quite painful. Took a lot of shots, took a lot of hits, and I've got no qualms in saying holding my hands up. Like, he got the better of me, but that was 8 years ago. And we've seen the progression I've made in 18 months, let alone 8 years. I have no issues whatsoever with accepting that, but knowing wholeheartedly that I'm an entirely different fighter.
Hold back. Shoulder. Roll. Lock. Time. Put on. I'm the jester of the team as well at the moment. I'm like the prank monkey where, like the king's jester. No, me and Fab have a good, we train hard. We like to, but we like to play hard and have a bit of a laugh. Yeah, squeeze one.
The plan is to have a little rest, little refuel, bit of protein, chill out for a sec, have a little bit of downtime, and then jump into session number 2. Finish off with some cardio.
6. 1 time, good work.
When it comes down to the sprints and the cardio work and stuff, I think for me, and probably say all boxers, that's probably our least favourite bit. It's the most horrible for the most kind of minimal reward in the sense of how you feel in the moment. But again, a necessary evil that comes along with the job.
So, a reminder, 2 minutes on the air bike, 2 minutes off. Then we're on intervals on the circuit, yeah? Is that one that's just been fixed?
Yeah.
Good.
What are we, 6 weeks into camp? And an assault bike is a key use of equipment that we have. And I think I'm on my 3rd chain break so far. So producing some decent power output.
I work with a lot of athletes, and when they first start, they're making 10, 20, 30% improvements. For me now, it's about getting to that peak level where you might make 2, 3, 5% improvements. I'd say that when an athlete gets to mid-30s or something like that, the thing is with Fabio, because he's only come to the sport quite late, he's still making improvements, even though he's at 31 years old, heavyweight, doesn't have to make weight. He's looking after his recovery, he's training in the right way, his training's really structured as well. So there's not much damage being done to his body. So like I said, this camp, we've already hit better numbers than we've done from Clarke and the Uni camp already.
85. And time. 86, well done. All right, mate.
Good day in the office. Ticked off all the work. Hard day in the office, hard graft, hard work. A lot of drills, a lot to focus on, a lot to pay attention to, and then grunt work at the end for them fanatic 11-round finishes, 50 punch flurries. That's what they're there for, but all good work, all job done. it's about who turns up on the night, who turns up and performs on the occasion, by hook or by crook or one way or another. I've always found a way, and I see my fight on the 9th of May going the exact same way, me finding a way, me getting him out of there.
Okay, so that was Fabio Wardley just a few weeks ago at the Ben Davison Performance Centre, getting ready for this weekend against Daniel Dubois. Guys, great fight. 2 massive punchers in the heavyweight division. I think probably one of the most aptly named fights in recent memory of Don't Blink. Surely somebody is going to get knocked out this weekend.
It's very difficult to see any other outcome, which in this sport means it'll probably go the distance. But it's an absolutely fantastic fight. As soon as it was made, you just thought, yes, please sign me up for this. I hope it goes fabulously all week because it deserves all the attention it can possibly get. I hope it's got that massive fight week feel about it and people really buy into it, and that the arena's packed on the night, which I'm absolutely sure that it will be. I just can't make my mind up as to who's going to win, because it's one of those where you can go back and forth on it. You can look at Wardley and think he is just this guy who can do the seemingly impossible, the kind of guy who it would be utterly foolish, given what he's already shown us, to ever back against him with any kind of confidence. But then you look at Dubois and you just remind yourself of his capabilities, some of the fragilities too, but of his capabilities. And then you look at their kind of respective pedigrees, and all right, Dubois has lost some fights, and people have questioned the circumstances in which he's done that, but he also scythed down Anthony Joshua in front of 90,000 people at Wembley Stadium, and everybody who's ever been anywhere near him in the gym tells you what an absolutely ludicrous puncher he is. But Fabio Wardley can't be knocked out. He's got a granite chin. Everybody's chin gets cracked at some point. You know, you just go backwards and forwards and round in circles with it. I do anyway, and my predictions have been useless in the last few weeks, but I'll throw one out later, but I'll do it without any confidence at all.
Getting the excuses in early over here.
Yeah, it's the best way, isn't it?
Of all divisions, the heavyweight division is the hardest one to predict, isn't it? Because of the power thing. That it doesn't matter. You could be 11 and a half rounds ahead and then get caught with a shot and get knocked out. I mean we've seen that before, and Fabio Wardley can knock you out late and be a million miles behind and be totally outboxed like he was against Justice Sonny. Dubois has the ability to outbox him. I think, clearly, that's the truth of it. I mean, Wardley's loosely more athletic in that way, more agile, but Dubois is a proper stereotypical heavyweight with his hands high, good shape, solid jab, apparently hard in his right hand, and he could do that. And also he's faster than what people think he is, Dubois. I mean, it's certainly his hands and his feet more than anything else. So I think that can win him the fight if he has the discipline to stay on that jab, and make Wardley overreach, force him beyond the bully him a little bit with the jab, and then when Wardley starts, just don't get drawn into his fight. And then you catch him when he gets tired, because he just gets tired, Wardley, and he fights instinctively better than anyone currently in boxing. But if you keep your discipline and you keep it along, you're still on the end of your shots, and then you stop him later, or mid-round. Or you think, I got loads of power, and he can be hurt, Wardley, by the way. We all know that. Okay, he's great and he's instinctively tough when he is hurt, but he can be hurt. So I'll just whack my jab in his face. And once that lands, and our right hand follows, and I'll just beat him up, and I can stop him early. And that could happen. Or you try and knock him out, you don't knock him out, and then you get tired after 4 rounds, and your mind starts to wander. Does this sound familiar now with Dubois? Your mind starts to wander, and you say, it's knackered now, and then you start getting hit with shots, and then but you're still firing back because you can take a good shot. You are tough, but your mind's wound. The more tired you get, the more you panic, and and then you get hit down, and you don't get up. I see that, like he's done before. I mean, once you've done it it's in you. Once you've done it twice, it's in you. Once you've done it 3 times, arguably, though I don't judge, though I am judging, it's in you to do it. There's no shame. Your pain's your pain. You panic. We all got our own little things that work and don't work, and we know when we've had enough. Ramirez did the other night. No one had to go with him.
No, that's a good point, actually. Nobody did. And I'm glad.
He went down with pain. He went down with pain in his eye. He was getting beat up as well, despondent. Nothing's working. I'm struggling. I'm getting hurt. I'm getting beat up. I'm trying to have a go, but I have no success. And Dubois has shown how much of a good chin, how tough and strong and hard he is, by the way. But he is an on-top fighter. That's just the facts. So you could taking his confidence away. It's not easy. Like, getting stopped by Usyk twice is no shame. The second one, he was hurt. He got up. But then when he went back down, he did stay on his knee. And I don't judge that at one bit, because he was hurt. It was enough. And it was fine, that was. But because of what happened in 2 fights previous, with Joyce and Usyk the first time, where he didn't need to stay down and he decided to, you have to, and I know I'll avoid Don Charles for a while now. I really like him, but I mean, they won't have that quit thing. Quitting is not a bad word. You just know when your time's your time. But it's in you, and it's not in Wardley yet. He fires when he hasn't got a clue where he is. There's a danger and a beauty with that, because then he's always when you think you got him, you go for the kill, you think you got him, he can swing and hurt you and knock you out. He drags you into his war. He drags you into his fight early. That's what he does. Like a Conah Walker, he makes it his fight as quick as he can. Even if you're having success, you're having to fight his fight. He didn't do it against Justice Honey, though. He got the finish, but Honey was controlling things, and quite well as well, I thought. But the mindset, which was impressive from Wardley, is he never feels sorry for himself. Even when he's getting out boxing, looks like he's going to lose. He always believes that he can catch you. Now, he was saying he was waiting, maybe, something like that. He was waiting for it, or setting him up or something. But I don't believe that. He was just, didn't have the ability and the experience to know how to navigate the guy who's outboxing him. That's all, because he has lack of experience. He's learning on the job. But I still think at one point, if he drags Dubois into the fight really early, Dubois will have success and could knock him out. But I think ultimately Wardley will catch him and make him work too hard. And once he gets getting tired, his mind wanders, Dubois. And once that happens, his confidence goes from there to there instantly. So I think Wardley for the stoppage. I could have just said that straight away and avoid all the backlash I'm going to get from Dubois and his camp.
That's all right. I'm quite sure they don't watch this. But anyway.
I'll send it to them then.
But anyway, you mentioned about...
It's a great fight.
Yeah, it's an amazing fight.
Good.
I mean, you can't, and also it was getting asked quite a lot about it by the Americans over the week. Oh man, that Wardley Dubois fight, a terrible accent. Wardley
and it's
Dubois
a world title fight too.
Yeah. And Dubois could knock Wardley off his feet, by the way, and put him to sleep like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Wardley's fights, Wardley has been wobbled or been hurt by, you just rattle him off. Eric Molina, Nick Webb hurt him. It was a one-round blowout, but Nick Webb, who can punch, by the way, he's not a non-puncher.
No, he did though.
Nick Webb, Nathan Gorman, Justice Hooney, Joseph Parker. These are and his answer to that is very easy. And how did those fights end?
Very hard fight against Fraser Clarke.
Very hard fight against Fraser Clarke, and he's shown in those fights that he can go through that adversity. But this is a different level of puncher.
He learned.
Yeah, for sure. But this is a different level of puncher. Like
it is, because we were talking about that before the Joseph Parker fight, but Dubois is a level up from him, isn't he?
Yeah, punching wise for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I meant.
Hooney is quite a unique heavyweight in a sense of he's very, very loose, very twitchy. He's got a very good amateur schooling behind him. So he was always going to open Wardley up in ways that, is going to be very different for the way that Daniel does, albeit Daniel is a very well-schooled guy, good jab, good right hand. He's less twitchy and less kind of not unorthodox, but less. You know what I'm trying to say.
It's coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can prepare for that. I mean, it's something that Ben Davison, who of course coached Anthony Joshua got stopped by Daniel Dubois. Said, Fabio Wardley is very much kind of from the mold of, he will put himself in the line of fire and risk taking a shot in order to kind of get his dig in first. And that's something that maybe we didn't see from Anthony Joshua against Daniel Dubois. I think, everybody can kind of quite confidently say that Daniel Dubois is not going to come out and be feinting and slipping and sliding and on the back foot. He comes forward. Kind of the way it's been described to me in the past is Daniel has two speeds, boxing and not boxing. you know, if he's boxing, he's coming forward, he's getting everything behind the jab, he's trying to take you out from round one. I watched the segment that you did with Shane McGuigan, of course, former coach of him on Toe to Toe. Great podcast, not the best, but great. And he's right in he loves it. He's right in what he says. You know, Daniel, like, you could tell Daniel, right, you know, you can outbox this guy, just get behind the jab and do this. They tried the same thing with Trevor Bryan when he won the world title, the regular title against Trevor Bryan. The left hook's there, Dan. Yeah. The left hook's there, Dan. And then eventually it's just screaming, the left hook, because it doesn't, as we know, you know, doesn't process information that well. He's not a reactive fighter or somebody who makes adjustments. Or certainly we've not seen him make adjustments on the fly so far in his career. He kind of goes about his business the way that he goes about it. If it works, great. And if it doesn't work, then, you know, alarm bells do start sounding for Daniel Dubois. So for Wardley, you kind of know what you're going to get. It doesn't mean that you're going to win. And what Daniel Dubois does is very, very difficult to beat. But there is a pattern and there is a formula in his fights. What does Fabio Wardley need to do? You mentioned kind of dragging him into his fight. How does he go about doing that?
Well, he hits those looping shots are going to help, because those looping shots, especially for heavyweights, those tempo shots, they take a good shot. Dubois takes a great shot. The Hrgovic fight alone should tell you that, because some of the shots he hit him with, he hit him on pillar to post, but it wasn't a frantic pace. I think you got to make it a really high octane pace for Dubois. He's full of muscle. That you can, they're so big, full of muscle, that you can fight at a high pace. He has fast hands and fast feet relatively. But if you're darting and out and swinging shots over the top, like, that's what I would do. I'd be coming low, swing shots high, you know, and just make it very physical, push him back, throw him around if you got it, if you can. I mean, he's big and strong, and he is a good boxer, and he's a better technical boxer than you are. But you got to make it hard, and you got to get around the side of him and swing shots over the top, which I think, you know, he's more athletic, I think, is Wardley. So I think he's able to do that, and his lack of sort of learning the fundamentals the traditional way from Wardley might help him in this fight, actually, because Dubois is better if you're a more formative fighter, because he's used to that. Fighters up against him, like a Hrgovic, who's another formative fighter, Anthony Joshua. Even though the Hrgovic's tactics were awful, just walk through you, but it showed him much of a great chin he has once he knows if he can see the punches coming, he can take them and absorb them. We say this quite often, your vision is very important. But when you can't see the punches coming, that's when you start to panic. I mean, he's such a big puncher, he can knock you out with the punches you can see coming. And Wardley is vulnerable with shots. But his mindset and his toughness just won't allow him to stay on the floor, won't allow him to not throw back. And that put him in, at some point, that's going to get Wardley knocked out. You have to say that at some point. You're going to say that. And it might be Dubois, who punches clean and neat. He's technically very neat, Dubois. I don't think we give enough credit for how good of a boxer he is. But what you said about with Shane, and we've all sort of seen it, he doesn't listen to instruction. He can't really think more than A, B, and C. So that's why he does it so well, because that's all he can do. But that's sometimes a gift, because you just go, you hit him with that jab. That's all you got to focus on. And that's
I just think that could be so important for him, that jab, because it is a real weapon. And I know it's a little while ago now, but I remember at the start of the fight against Fraser Clarke.
That was the difference.
That was the difference, yeah. Again, a kind of stand-up, compact, well-organised, neat, sort of GB style boxer, if you like.
It's a proper from the shoulder, turns into it. I mean, it's a jar, and you don't want to take one of those. I don't care if you are like 19 stone and 6 foot whatever. I mean, taking one of those is not like that's a deflated shot. That is his. And like as Shane was saying, his like left. Did he say it on camera or he said off air? His left hand is harder than most right hands that he takes on the pads. I mean, I
was in the gym with him once with Daniel and Shane, and Shane had a brand new pair of winning pads on, and winning pads are like the winning gloves. They're very thick, they're very like safe, and Daniel punched a hole in one of them. They were brand new out of the packet, and he literally dented the whole pad. Had to throw the pads away straight away. That's how hard that guy punches, man. He is a massive puncher.
And let's look at resumes, by the way.
Yeah, he's been in there. He's been at a very high level.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it? If you look at it, to be honest, like, but it's still and
Everyone just homes in on the defeats, don't they?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the
manner of them.
You can't escape it, though. You can't.
No, you can't.
And boxers, I think, go on about more than pundits and experts, because we know, we've all been in fights here where we all want to half quit. We've all been in them. At every different levels in your career, by the way, not just the hardest fights where you got lost. In other fights, you've been where it's just hard. When it's not, when you're not, but a physically hard fight when you're on top is different for your mental, because you're winning, so you have a positive thing. But in being in a fight, you're losing and having to get up off the stool and come back out, or taking a big hard shot in a fight you're getting battered in, and still try. It's hard. Now, for Wardley, that's what makes him who he is.
Yeah. From talking to you guys about all of that, about if you lose, if you get stopped or knocked out, it's about how it happens, isn't it? Because sometimes somebody can get knocked out or stopped and it's not their decision. You get caught with a punch you don't see and you like to get turned out. That's just something that can happen to literally anybody. You're under fire and you're not doing enough, or you are trying to do enough. The referee stops it, the corner stops it. Sometimes there's a way of encouraging the stoppage because you're not really throwing enough. So you could argue that's kind of maybe your decision. But fighters all look at Dubois, and I know because I've had the conversations, and I'm sure we all have. If you're on a knee, that you've decided not to get up and continue. It was your decision. And that for me is where the difference lies, is that most of you guys would just say, no, like, I would never make that decision. You can't make that decision. If it gets made for... Yeah, it is really easy to say that.
Because we've all been there with...
Like, and some people who say that they would never do it have then gone on to do it, or done it in a way where they've kind of got away with it. But if you look closely, you think you've cleverly made that look like didn't make the decision, but actually you did. It's yeah.
You can have a fight punched. You can have a fight literally punched out to you.
Yeah.
And so the Usyk second fight, I think he literally had the fight punched out of him. Fine. It is what it is. You were not wait. If you got to be out cold all the time, you're just being beat. That's fine. It's all okay. You're disappointed, and that's life. The other ones, even though you're in trouble with pain and there's issues, I mean, it's still, you've made more of a conscious choice. I don't want to continue rather than I can continue. That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
That's difference.
Yeah.
And I think there, like, I was at the point where I'm on the ropes. I've said this before. No, I was applauded for my toughness, getting up 6 times, embarrassingly. But I mean, I didn't stay on the floor. I got up, but I was right by my corner, and he was battering me, and I just had nothing left. And I didn't, and I would have stayed there, by the way. I wouldn't have said, oh, help me. I would have stayed there, and he would have battered me good further, and I would have fired back in the end, but I couldn't fire back. I could hear my dad saying, that's enough. And that was my cue to throw, and I had nothing left to throw. And I might have, give me another 5 seconds, I might have. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have. We'll never know now, because I didn't. So in many ways, I quit. I don't think I did quit, but I quit. I had my fight punched out to you. What are you going to do? It's fine. And I'm not saying he's weak-minded. I think he's mentally temperamental, because we've seen him in fights where he's walked through walls. Dubois, no, he can be an animal.
I mean, all of this stuff happens really, really quickly. You know, it's that 10 count is not very long. You know, you're on your knee, your eye socket's gone, something weird has happened. It's the first time it's happened. You don't know what on earth is going on, and tired, all of a sudden it's 10, and you're still there and you've lost. The decisions have to be made. Just so the decision not to do it, or to do it, these are like, they're seconds, aren't they?
But also, I've been on the floor where I heard the body shot when I was out. This is different with headshot, and I was immersed in my own pain. It cracked my rib, didn't it? So it wasn't like I was winded. I was just in pain. And then I could hear 7, and I've said this before, and I panicked. I'm not thinking about I think I'm going to lose the fight. I mean, if I didn't know what was happening for the next 4 rounds, I would have stayed there. But I mean, you're thinking, that's your only thought. Got to get. I'm not brave. I'm not thinking about being brave. I'm just thinking about winning the fight, because that's what you're there to do.
Yeah, this is your sport, and this is how it works. It's wired into you from so young that you get up.
You don't have a pat on the back for that. This is what. Yeah. And also the rewards for winning the fight of being a champion of the world. I mean, that's the motivation to do more than what you should do. People say, boxers they go beyond, and they do. But I mean, look at the stuff we get for doing it. I mean, and also we're trained to do this most of our life, by the way. We're training for this moment to be a Southern Area champion, British champion, world champion, whatever it is. That right, is the drug that we're all looking for, searching for. That's why we train as hard as we do. That's why we do what we do. That's why they do what they do. I don't do it anymore. That's why they do what they do. That's why they give us all this entertainment. It's not for you. It's for us. It's for them. We're selfish bastards, and we all are. You know, and because we want all the praise. I know I'm not one of not praise of the public. We want to be known as a champion of whatever it is for that one moment in your life. No, you can't replace that. I cry thinking about you can't replace it. Mate, that's what you do.
Is this you announcing your comeback?
I'm coming back. No,
that was awesome. I love that.
But I think Dubois is just mentally temperamental. So if you get him on the right night, Wardley's in trouble, man. I tell you, because he'll drag him into war and Dubois will be able to fire back with him. But if he can make him temperamental on the other side, then he'll break his heart and stop him.
I think the early rounds are very, very key here. I think if Daniel Dubois gets off to a good start, a fast start, like he did against Anthony Joshua, I think it'd be very hard for Wardley to turn it around.
It's a hard one to call this one.
Yeah, massively. And we will do our predictions in just a short few minutes. But before we do that, Andy, going to come to you first. What happens next for the winner? We've seen Alexander Usyk, by all accounts, gets past Rico Verhoeven. It looks like the WBC mandatory and Ajit Kabayel, the interim champion, will be next. But do we see the winner of this fight potentially boxing him after that? Do we see Moses Atalma's waiting in the wings? What happens for the winner of Wardley versus Dubois?
What about Wilder? I'm thinking if you're one of these two teams, obviously you want the world title fight, but it is a world title fight, but the idea of one of them fighting Usyk, obviously you want the undisputed fight. But as we know, like you just said, that's not going to happen for a little while. What's the best other option for you? Fury made some noises about it. That's not going to happen.
Now that fight's happening.
AJ, obviously that's not going to happen. Italma, neither one would be inclined to say, well, I don't want to do that. But honestly, why would you want to do that ahead of fighting Deontay Wilder, who's come off a big win? He's legit, isn't he? Yeah. He beat Derek Chisora. He's just out there and in circulation, isn't he? And he's a name. And you've taken this fight. I'd be eyeing that one up if I was one of the two teams, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Italma, I think, has been installed, or he's going to be installed as the mandatory for the winner of the fight. We've all discussed kind of the in-house political stuff of Wardley and Italma sharing the same trainer in Ben Davison. I think we've all also agreed that if Daniel Dubois were to win, I don't think there is that strong appetite for Usyk Dubois 3.
No one wants to see that.
No, I don't think really anybody wanted to see the second fight. But whatever. Now there's two losses on Dubois' record. I certainly don't think we need to see the third fight. What about you, Barry? Andy's just mentioned there, Deontay Wilder.
I think marketable-wise, I think it's a great fight because he is well rated now. Chisora has a high rating in most of the organisations, didn't he? Certainly the IBF, I think.
I just think he's like a really obvious choice if you're one of those two guys.
I would love to see, especially if Wardley won, Wardley go to Germany and box Kabayel in Germany because the atmosphere is wicked. And it'd be and he would, I mean, he was set in a light he would there because he made Kabayel work for everything. I think it would be wicked. I think it'd be a brilliant fight. I do.
I think we're probably more likely to get Usyk, Kabayel.
Yeah.
And then, take Fury and Joshua out because regardless of kind of whether or not they have interim fights. Did anybody see Frank Warren on the Ariel Helwani show talking about, I was hoping he was going to fight Moses Italma
for a warm-up.
What? Like, not even Frank could keep a straight face to it.
I thought he'd say Moses Italma for a harder fight.
Yeah, literally, like, it's a more dangerous fight.
I'd say inside, Frank's laughing his tits off.
It wasn't even inside, he was outside. He was grinning and smiling and smirking as he said it. I thought it was hilarious.
Interesting that they've moved Italma to August the 8th from July the 25th because Joshua's July the 25th, which is a sensible thing to do.
I'd imagine there was probably some DAZN input with that.
Yeah, I mean,
because Joshua boxing out there would be at the same time as well.
I mean, they could have staggered it easily enough, I guess, but why put, like you said, this weekend just gone, like when you've got control of it, which they should have, then, or at least a big input, then why have them both on the
you
can at least this weekend, especially for DAZN, Great company to work for. Remember what else is that? I'm going to start doing that again. All these big fights of the week, they were staggered, weren't they?
Yeah. No,
that was a god's.
No, it worked
staggered
perfectly.
with a big space in between them all for us.
Yeah, you could have a rest. Well, not you didn't bother, but you could have had one.
Just enough time for you to fly from Japan.
There was things to be done.
I bet there were.
Invoice. He put something on Twitter. The first thing I put is send them my invoice.
Yeah, that was after. But anyway, we don't want to talk about that.
The option either way though, like Wardley for taking this. I mean, you take this fight because it was the most money available.
Yeah.
But he's still taking it. So
The most dangerous fight that was out there, I think.
Oh
as well,
yes, isn't it?
You can see that some of the names that he was kind of linked with.
Because he's not fighting anymore, Wardley. He knows he's good now. I know before it was like, just don't know how far I'm going to go. I'll just keep going until I get there. But he's got there now, hasn't he? So, it's like...
Cash in now.
But still, it's money.
Still,
money
though,
time.
This is the fight for him, though, where he really becomes world champion. Really.
Yeah, that's how people
He hasn't won it.
isn't it? If you get elevated,
similar
promoted.
to Dubois against Joshua.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
because I know some boxers who won't have it. I do have. I make them a world champion. It's not their fault. It's the organisation's fault. Making them interim champions. But so I just say yes. But some people who go interim champions and then they win it, they lose in the first defence. Some people go, they were never a world champion.
Yeah, I'm like you. I mean, it's the circumstances are beyond their control. Aren't
Picking
they?
on the fighter, aren't you?
It's.
I think if Dubois wins, we could see Dubois against Itama. I think that we could definitely see that. Both very much Queensbury boys.
Yep.
That's very top ranked, though, isn't it?
But it's very Warren. Warren will put his guys against each other.
He will, but I mean, Dubois still got some skin left in the game, haven't he?
But I think if you're Dubois, he's had his losses. You kind of know what he is. He's kind of he's back in this fight, for a world heavyweight.
What I mean, he can still win it. He'll be a world champion, but he can still have a few years left. I know Top Rank would just be ruthless. Frank, even though he's not afraid to match him, he's very much passing the baton, though, isn't he?
Potentially, but then again, Itama goes and beats Daniel Dubois. What's to say that you can't do Daniel Dubois against Joseph Parker when Joseph Parker comes back? Frank, particularly with Dubois, he's invested a lot of money in Daniel Dubois over the years, given him a lot of opportunities and chances where, you mentioned Top Rank there, not just to kind of single them out, but a lot of promoters would have looked at him after the Joyce fight, after the Reina fight, after the Usyk, and gone, actually, do you know what? We've paid you a lot of money. Maybe you go over here. Let's say, this is not, obviously, there's a lot of what ifs here, but if Dubois beats Wardley then loses to Itama, you could do Dubois against Jared Anderson. Frank's got so many heavyweights that you can, and as you know, Barry, as you like to say, you keep recycling the heavyweights until the legs fall off. Right, okay, we have only got a couple of short minutes for this weekend's prediction, so we're going to come to general prediction maestro, Mr. Andy Clarke first, who's already set his stall out to make sure that no one
I mean, actually, my defence, there was quite a regulation week, I think, where we all got pretty much everything right. But last week, I only got Inoue right. And even then, I didn't get that completely right because I think I said it was a late stoppage. But it's good. It's good. Like I say, this is an unpredictable sport. I am going to say that Wardley is going to win. Points.
Yeah. What?
God.
That's mad.
It is mad.
I can see Dubois points. I can't see Wardley points.
It is mad, but I really don't know.
You've gone rebel lately.
So I'm just going to go slightly renegade because why not?
Yeah, but you got odd socks on.
I haven't actually.
Right, okay. Barry.
I am going commando though. So
nice.
Not really.
Nice. When you got a small penis, you can get away with it.
Barry.
I'm going to go Wardley round 8. I just think I think Dubois does start fast, but I think he starts fast, but Wardley at some point drags him into his fight, and Dubois is just Dubois is just exhausted, and those looping shots. And I think he's exhausted. I think he has Wardley on the rails a few times, goes for it, but somehow Wardley survives because that's what he does, and going for it, maybe once or twice, just knackers out Dubois, and he loses all his shape. His concentration goes. He gets caught with the looping shot on the top of the head, and the panic sets in, unfortunately. Or I'm going for Dubois with a second round knockout.
Hedging your bets.
To Wardley round 8.
Right, yeah, I'm going to go for, this is a very tough one. I'm going to edge towards Wardley, and I think he might have to pick himself up off the floor to do
100%.
I think Daniel really does punch that hard. I think Daniel's the hardest puncher in the division.
Yeah.
By quite a distance as well. And I think he will come out of the blocks fast, get behind the jab. I think he'll drop Wardley, and then there'll be a moment where they come together and Wardley just catches him, and then it'll be over. And just,
I think it's going to be a clean knock.
I think he'll stop him. Whether he chins Daniel, Daniel's got a good chin.
Yeah.
But I think he'll catch Daniel with a shot, put Daniel down, and it'll either be he'll get up and the follow up will kind of see it waved off, or he may stay down, as we've seen in the past. But it's a pick with absolutely no certainty whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been a little bit silly saying points, and I will claim no credit for that at all.
I'd be loving it.
if that's what actually happens, I will claim no credit for it whatsoever, because I think what you've outlined there is the most. I mean, I do favour Wardley, and I think that is the most likely method, but I've thrown it out there just as an indication of how unsure I am about what's going to happen, which is brilliant, because that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing with Wardley, once he hits you with a shot, however tired he is, once he hits you with a shot, he can find that energy to throw another 15 punches.
Yeah, it just comes out, doesn't it? Right. That's all we have time for today. But before we wrap things up, great card this weekend that we haven't been able to talk about. Jack Rafferty and Echo Esserman should be a really good fight. David Morrell against Zach Chelli. Not one that I had on my 2026 bingo card, but an interesting one nonetheless. Liam Cameron against Brad Ray. Really looking forward to that. Plus, there's a bunch of others as well. Khalil Majid is boxing
Gavin Gwynn
in a really good fight. Bakadir Jalalov on the card as well against Agron Smakici. Look out for that fight. And if you like a bet, gamble responsibly at Betfred and have a look at Agron Smakici.
And they just signed the other the world champion. What's his name?
What, Queensbury?
Yeah.
I don't know. You'll have to help me.
I can't see his name.
Umataliyev.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, he's
been there for a bit, isn't he?
Yeah. Right, yes, but that is all we have time for. A jam-packed episode of the Betfred Boxing Show this week. Really looking forward to this week's fights. Let us know in the comments who you think is going to win this weekend. Will it be Fabio Wardley? Will it be Daniel Dubois? We will wait and see. But from me, Rob Tebbutt, from legendary broadcaster Mr. Andy Clarke, and former WBO Super Featherweight Champion of the World, Mr. Barry Jones, that's all we have time for. We'll see you next week.